Oh, are we live?
Yeah.
Oh, hi guys. What's going on? How's everyone doing? Is everyone in the right kind of mood? Billy got it right away. I figured I'd do a public service announcement before we start. Has anyone seen a girl that looks like this? And I'd also like to point out you have a bit of
Some red on there.
a little red on you.
Nolan says he waved at the computer.
Well, we'll see you when we get to call you. We're just gonna wait a few minutes, let a few more people roll in here.
Want to grab a soda pop?
Kimber's gonna grab a sody pop.
So we do have some people who need to go first for time reasons, but we are getting a list going.
Oh, we have a new viewer, Melissa. Hello. She recently just added us on Twitter. Thank you. Delisha is also here.
Delisha calling in tonight?
So I have a list of people who are calling in. So far we have Nolan, Brian, Candace, Billy, Ashley, and Joe. Would anyone else like to join us tonight? Melissa, Delisha? Well, we can definitely try to get Delisha on. You like it, Joe. It's a good name. I didn't pick it myself, but...
Okay.
So we have a new viewer.
Cool.
Okay,
It usually
Delisha.
says Fright Night, but now it says Right Night. It's going to be very punny tonight, I'm sure.
Billy, my hair just looks more kept because I don't have sideburns.
I think it's getting a little shaggy.
Yeah, he's like, is this, you actually combed my hair? And I'm like, no, I actually did that to it. So
Elegantly disheveled.
I did the exact opposite. Melissa was Sean for Halloween.
Nice. Awesome.
Okay, so I think we got a bunch of people in here. I think we can get started. This is a pretty good audience. Thank you guys for showing up so early. We, for those of you who don't know, we have one newcomer at least, so we should explain. What we do here is we get everybody, they get to call in, we get to talk about a cool subject. And then that usually takes about 3 hours because just Cal's
For
here.
everybody, not each caller.
Yeah, no, yeah. Each interview is 3 hours. Those are for the director's cuts.
Janine. Janine, let us know if you're calling in
nice.
tonight. We would love to see you. I know you're an Edgar Wright enthusiast.
Sure. But what we do is we take those 3 hours and then we break them down into 40-minute usually things, and then they're on our parent channel, Tough. And if you're not familiar with that, well, you can find out more later. I don't know.
All right.
So Cal,
so make sure you get Delisha. Ask if Janine wants to.
Delisha is at work. She cannot.
Cal says he's not coming on cam.
Cal cannot come on cam.
Janine, come on cam tonight. But do you want to do, or do you want me to do the intro?
Oh, we have another guest in there, Maria. Hello, Maria.
Yeah, I believe she said she was just stopping by, but showing love for Nolan, so possibly one of Nolan's friends.
Well, we're about to have Nolan call in a second here, so we're gonna do our little introduction, and then we'll get started.
Hello, and welcome to another odd-shaped panel. Tonight we are going to be talking about one of my favorite directors, and I think a lot of the OSPeeps' favorite directors, and that's Edgar Wright, the genius. This man is a master of all genres, and basically every movie he's ever made was awesome. So we're going to be discussing a lot of cool stuff about him tonight. Obviously, my outfit is an homage to Sean, and Tom is doing his Scott Pilgrim thing over here. Some of our favorites, and I guess let's just get this going with our first caller. We got Nolan calling in.
All right, let's get Nolan on the horn here. I'm gonna send him an invite.
Thank you again, Nolan, for staying up late. You have his.
Hey, you've never called him before.
I think he has. Called for Harry Potter.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yes, okay. Nolan, if you want to just either put up your email address or send us your email address on Twitter, it's up to you. Just let me know which one.
And Tom is going to start writing down people's stuff that we don't, so
Yeah.
that we don't have to do this every time. For the new people, we're on a different platform called Blab, and it was a little easier with the callers. We're still getting used to doing the YouTube thing, so bear with us as we deal with getting these callers on. But Nolan is a super fun dude, and he will be worth the wait, I assure you.
He's calling us all the way from Dubai, I believe, which that doesn't happen every day.
Yeah,
so.
he's staying up super late. Cal saying he doesn't know anything about Edgar Wright. If any of you guys don't know anything about Edgar Wright, he's an amazing director. He's definitely my favorite modern director that's currently still making films. He actually has a new one coming out called Baby Driver.
Yes.
And that's why we're doing this episode. And it's also in popular demand. A lot of people have asked us to do an episode about Edgar Wright.
I knew there was a number like that in it.
I knew there was a
I knew
number.
No, I knew it was that number. I messed up the second part of it. All right.
We are sending the invite now.
Those are laser noises. For those who aren't familiar.
Nolan's actually one of the people who sent us a question tonight. We get the majority of our questions from you guys tweeting them to us and sending them to us. In private messages sometimes, and one was even inspired by somebody in our group, Morgan. So yeah, just always send us questions and stuff. We love that. And if you want to tweet us anything, you can do that too. We are at OddShapePanel on Twitter.
That's Mavis. She's all right. Boom.
Is it?
Hey.
There it is.
Hey, Nolan, how's it going?
Hey guys, pretty good. I'm really nervous about this.
Ooh, there's nothing to be nervous about, man. Just gonna turn us down a little bit. So we don't blow out. So how you doing? How was I know you've been staying up to watch a bunch of things tonight. Was the SJ show good?
Yeah, it was pretty good. I tried to call in, but I got cut out at the last minute.
Happens to the best of us. You're getting nice comments on the beard and the cat over here.
Yeah, I can see that. Oh, Billy's complimenting my beard.
Yes.
Thanks, man.
So you want to get started with these questions?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let me get. I don't want to endorse PlayStation. So our good friend Janine asked us, what is your favorite movie out of the Cornetto Trilogy?
Well, first of all, before I answer that, I got to say I love all the movies in the Cornetto Trilogy. But I'm going to go with one that I argued for on Fan Friction and didn't win, but it's got to be Hot Fuzz for me.
Awesome. What is it about a Hot Fuzz that makes it stand out for you?
Well, Hot Fuzz is it's because I love cop movies, and I think it's the ultimate British fun action movie. It's one of the best British action movies ever made. It feels like the most complete of the Cornetto trilogy, and it pays homage to a lot of incredible genres like mystery, horror, cop, and action. And it's still a great story about a man learning how to let go and to live his life a little. And I saw this in theaters when I was 11, expected it to just be like a funny buddy cop film, and then I was greeted with all this gore and murder and blood, and look how fantastic I turned out now.
Yeah, it's funny because you would think that Shaun of the Dead would be the goriest of the Cornetto trilogy, but I don't think that it is. I think that he actually elevated the brutality with Hot Fuzz, like that scene where the chunk of the church falls down and smashes the dude's head.
Oh,
I was really
freaked me out as a kid.
Yeah, I was really surprised because it was brutal. I was like, holy crap, like, I did not see that coming at all. It was really unexpected, and I thought it was awesome.
Yeah, it definitely was. I just like, I kind of made this face during the movie when I saw that.
Melissa in the chat also says it arguably has the best fence gag.
It has the best what, sorry?
Fence gag?
Oh yeah, it definitely does. It's the funniest one.
And I think it definitely, because it's like Shaun of the Dead almost sets you up for that gag, because it's like caught like a familiar image, and then you go and you're like, all right, they're going to do this again, and then they flip it.
Yeah, it turned out pretty hilarious. Also, I think with Hot Fuzz, you've not only got great action, but you've got a really heartwarming story, and this is one of the few performances where both Nick Frost and Simon Pegg elevate each other, and by the end they feel like complete characters.
Yeah, I liked all the red herrings too in Hot Fuzz, like trying to mislead you into thinking you know what's going on, or that you think it's going to be Skinner, or you think it's going to be like the pervert dude in the play or whatever, and then they totally like switch it up into like I think a really unexpected ending for sure.
Yeah, then it goes full Lethal Weapon at the end.
I completely agree with you. Like, they're all good, so it's kind of hard picking like one of them. But I think I have a special place for Shaun of the Dead because it is my first Edgar Wright film, which I mean, I guess but it's where I fell in love with his style, where he knows how to play with music, and I know you're going to work on that more later. But the way he works with music and his sound cues, like that's where I fell in love with it. And the other two just expanded on that, but Shaun of the Dead will always be.
I guess you love the scene where he's throwing all the records out of his box in the garden in Shaun of the Dead.
Yes. My choice is also definitely Shaun of the Dead. And it's, again, for a lot of the reasons that he said, and I love the entire Cornetto trilogy. I think that they're all really, really good. But for me, like, I'm a horror junkie, and I've been into that for my whole life. And I think that zombies were going kind of stale, and what this dude did to make a movie that was equally as comedy as it was horror, to turn it on its head and make zombies fresh again and fun and exciting. And I don't know, it's amazing.
It's George Romero's favorite zombie film.
Yeah.
So
there it is.
It kind of makes fun of zombies, though, which is, I think, what makes it stand out from the rest.
For sure, but it's just really, like, it's good writing. It's exciting the entire time. Like, the bits that are in it are hilarious. The music that's in it, like, I love Queen. They're, like, my ultimate favorite band. So to, like, have the really iconic scenes going on with Queen, and then the best friend song, like, finishing the movie is just, like, icing on the cake for me. It's perfect. There's not a minute or a second in that film that I would change. I really love it. It's in my top 5 favorite movies of all time. It might be in my top 3.
Wow. Edgar Wright's a visual comedy genius, so I don't blame you there.
Yeah.
All right. Well, some guy named Nolan Dean asked us, zombies?
Oh, really? He sounds like an asshole.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a long list I have to read. Zombies, cops, apocalypse, rom-com, heist. What genre would you like to see Wright tackle next?
Well, I'm really glad that Nolan asked that question, because I'm about to pull an odd-shaped panel first on you guys right now. You guys are about to see your first odd-shaped pitch.
Oh, here comes a new graphic. And I'll edit that in later.
Now, Edgar Wright is ultimately one of the best genre filmmakers out there, but I want to see him adapt straight-up horror, because I don't necessarily consider Shaun of the Dead a full horror movie. And when I was thinking about this, I came up with this little idea that I've been marinating on, and I'm going to try and remember off the top of my head. But here's what you've got here. Simon Pegg stars as this guy who's down filming in one of these haunted areas in Britain, you know, like one of the ghost shows that you would end up seeing on TV, whereas you've got Nick Frost playing his cameraman. And Pegg is one of these, like, dreamers who just wants to make his life mean something, and you can see Nick Frost is kind of indulging it, but at the same time, he just feels like he's looking for stuff that isn't there. And so they spend their time at this house trying to find all the clues, and then they end up doing that. Ghosts of, like, I'd say maybe Victorian-style women end up haunting them in their sleep. We get some really great signature Edgar Wright comedy, and I'm pretty sure he could handle that by making fun of jump scares with his visual comedy style. And then at the end, we find out that these ghosts are actually trying to escape, and they just want Simon Pegg and Nick Frost's help. And when they work together, we find out who the real villain is. And the villain is the ghost of Jack the Ripper, who is also played by Simon Pegg in Victorian style. Then you've got a big fight climax that ensues. Somehow they end up beating Jack the Ripper, and you've got your movie. It's about looking for stuff to make your life seem memorable and then accepting that it's not your past that defines you. It's what you do in the moment. Hug it out, credits roll, boom, you got another Edgar Wright classic. And Edgar, on the off chance that you're watching this, you can have that idea for free.
I have one question.
Go for it.
Is regular Simon Pegg and Jack the Ripper Simon Pegg related? Like, is he a descendant of Jack the Ripper?
Yeah, like an ancestor kind of thing.
Yeah, that could be really cool to play off of, because then, like, you can do all those little nuances, like close up of veins and stuff. And like,
Yeah, when you say the jump scares, it reminds me of, I'm glad you said it, because it's a good excuse to bring this up, but Grindhouse, when they had the trailers for the fake movies, Edgar Wright did one called Don't. And they'd be like,
oh, yeah.
Open the door, don't. You're going to walk downstairs, don't. And it's really freaking hysterical. And I could see him, like, playing with that type of idea with, like, a repeating type gag. But instead of, like, don't, it's more like jump scares, like you're saying.
I think,
Yeah.
for me, as far as genres, I would love him to tackle film noir. I think he could write some, like, use the kind of, like, vocabulary they used back in the day. Like, I would want it to be a period piece, but the kind of, like, vocabulary, I think he could play with that, and, like, oh, a dame, and blah, blah, blah. But I also want to see him, the music, I would love to see him play with jazz, and at the same time, I want to see him work in black and white really bad.
It's funny you said film noir, because you made me think of Who Framed Roger Rabbit immediately when you said that.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely a noir style. It's more of a pulp, but noir is usually, like, you know, high contrast. But I mean, modern noirs I love too. It doesn't have to be a period piece. There's a like a, yeah, I guess like Sin City, but my favorite modern noir is a movie called Brick with Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Oh, that movie's incredible.
Yeah, I love that movie. Anytime noir comes up, I bring it.
My pick would also be horror. I'm with Nolan. Like, he was halfway there with Shaun of the Dead, but it would be really fun and exciting to see him just, like, go full tilt into a horror movie, like a real horror movie. We already know he could bring the gore, and he knows how to lighten it up when he needs to, of course, and I think he could be, like, to do something really scary would be awesome from him. He's obviously a horror fan. Simon Pegg and him did a cameo in George Romero's Land of the Dead as zombies.
I never noticed that. I got to rewatch that now.
Yeah, Google it. You'll see pictures. It's hard to tell that it's them if you're not looking for it because they have so much prosthetics on, but they're like chained up for like a take a picture with the zombie type situation. And yeah, so he's like a big fan of horror, and I think that he could do an awesome job.
Mm-hmm. I'm definitely all for that.
We have another good question from Janine, and it's, what is the best fight sequence in an Edgar Wright film?
Well, I have to go for one of them, which is, it's in one of his movies where the fight sequences really are a highlight, and you've got the CD behind you. I'm going with Scott Pilgrim versus Gideon Graves at the end of Scott Pilgrim versus the World.
Awesome. What is it about that fight scene that makes it the best for you?
Well, you see in a lot of the fights in that movie, Scott remains on top of things for most of the times. And this is the only fight in the movie where you feel like Scott could lose. And he ends up losing, and as a result, Wright kind of makes fun of the video game style where you end up skipping the cutscene to get to the final boss. And then you're treated to not only an incredible fight, but you get a great message about doing stuff not to earn affection from someone else, but doing it for your own self-respect. And he shows that in a really fun way that would let the intended audience who's watching the movie take on that advice. And you cheer at the end when Scott finally takes down Gideon Graves, and Schwartzman, he just kills it as this smarmy club owner who's going to steal your girlfriend. And I reckon if Jesse Eisenberg wasn't cast, Jason Schwartzman probably would have made an awesome Lex Luthor.
I love Schwartzman. I'm all for that. I would have liked that better. I think. I thought Eisenberg was fine, but that's a whole other separate issue to get into.
He was
He's
okay.
playing Alexander. He's Alexander Luthor Jr. He's not Lex Luthor in that movie, for the record. I think that's a huge issue with why people don't like his character, because he's playing a different character, and he's more true to Alexander Luthor Jr. than he is to Lex Luthor. But anyway,
She listens to me.
We're derailing the conversation. Back to Edgar Wright. Yeah, that's a great fight scene. Love Schwartzman. It's my favorite fight in that movie as well. Did you have a pick?
Oh, that's all. I thought you were gonna. All right. So I'm torn because there's so many. There's so many good ones. I think we I think in World's End, like, we're so used to seeing Nick Frost in Edgar Wright movies being like the crass, like, or at least the one who's gun ho about violence. You know what I mean? Like, he doesn't give a crap.
Yeah.
And to see him so World's End was kind of weird. Like, he was just so, like, he was on a loop so much. Like, he didn't kick back. He was just, but that was his character. Like, what he was supposed to do. And when he's talking to Pierce Brosnan, like, right after they figure out that Martin Freeman's character has got turned into one of them, and he just headbutts the head off of Pierce Brosnan, and a huge bar fight breaks out. Simon Pegg is just still trying to get a beer, and the whole time his beer gets knocked out of his hand and stuff like that. The choreography in that movie, I think, if Scott Pilgrim had multiple fight scenes, like multiple people fighting, that's what it could have been as World's End. Like, the choreography in that part was really good.
Yeah.
And just seeing all the blue, like, pop up visually, it was very pretty. And I think Prodigy was in the background while they were fighting, and, like, he's always good about matching up music and action.
Yeah, Edgar Wright loves the Prodigy.
Yeah, it's funny that you say that he's excellent at matching up music and fighting, because my choice, the obvious choice, but the best choice in my opinion, is going to be the Don't Stop Me Now fight from Shaun of the Dead.
I thought you were going to say the bass battle from Scott Pilgrim there.
No, that shit is hysterical. Like, it's the best, I think, example of him timing up music with action for comedy. It's just hilarious. Like, everything that they're doing with, like, hitting them on beat, and then when she smashes them in the face with the fire extinguisher and blows him in the face when it says explode. Like, the one dude is doing percussion with the breaker switches. It's like do, and you have the lights, like a light show. That is it's just like a really good scene, and it's like so funny when he gets hit in the head with the dart, and they're all working together trying to, like, fight this horde of zombies that's coming in. Yeah, Billy said something about the dart at the same time. But for me, like, that's the first thing that comes into my head, and largely in part to that awesome Queen song being in that scene. It was the perfect choice.
Great scene in Shaun of the Dead.
Even, like, the kill the Queen joke is so simple, but it's freaking hilarious. I love that.
You always get that with an Edgar Wright movie. Hilarious.
He has so many, like, memorable one-liners. It's ridiculous.
So, for those who don't know anything else about our channel, Nolan brought it up before, fan fiction. The channel does a similar style of, like, movie television debate, as you can find, like, as Screen Junkies movie fights. It's kind of like an homage to them. So we had pretty good guests on the season finale. It was Adam and Ben from
Popcorn Talk?
The action show on Popcorn Talk. And they did a thing in honor of fan fiction. They really liked one of the questions, so they did a whole segment on it. And we really liked how they judged something, so we're kind of doing an homage to an homage. So they pretty much were asking, you know, is Samuel L. Jackson underrated, overrated, blah, blah, blah. We're asking the same thing with Edgar Wright. So we're asking, do you think is Edgar Wright overrated, underrated, or just right?
Well, you know what I'm going to say. He's obviously just right. I can't fault Edgar Wright for anything he does. He's my favorite director of all time, because when you're watching an Edgar Wright movie, you're never bored for a second of it, and you can still analyze it like you would a classic film, and you can just tell he's got such a passion for filmmaking, and I love it when directors can do that. So for me, Edgar Wright, he's just right.
Yeah, I do also have to say this question was inspired by our buddy Morgan.
I wasn't going to out him.
At the Purple Dawn underscore, and he actually intended to be here tonight, but he got really sleepy. He's over in Manchester, and went to bed. So, but thank you, Morgan, for inspiring the question. I'm also going to say he's just right. And the reason I'm going to say that he's just right is because you have a certain expectation when you go to an Edgar Wright movie. You're looking for certain things to be a certain way, and he always delivers that. And when someone lives up to the expectations that you have, I think that means they're just right.
Yeah, you both pretty much nailed it. I mean, I always expect to see cool transition sequences.
Great music.
I always expect laughs. And I always expect something to not mind blowing, but for something for me to go, oh man, that was so good. Like when Scott Pilgrim jumps out of that window when Knives is looking for him, and he's like, oh, he just stepped out, and it's like, I'm like, I wish I could have written that into a scene where it's like he just jumps out the window and he's fine.
Visual comedies the way forward now, and no one does it like Edgar Wright does.
That is very true.
All right, Nolan. Well, thank you. That was great.
You're welcome. I've got one more thing to just say here. It's still involving Edgar Wright just before I go. Is that cool?
Yeah, no, dude.
All right. Well, when I lived in Dubai, I don't live there now. I live in Cyprus now. But I met Nick Frost at Dubai's Comic-Con, and I got to ask him a question whether if him and Simon Pegg would ever consider playing villains in a movie. And his response was hilarious. So, Oddshaped Panel, you guys are going to love this. He says, we're going to try and play enemies at one point, and at the same time, lovers. Who doesn't want to see that?
I would watch that.
I think it was BFF did this movie, because they did the Bond movie. Which one was it?
Skyfall, I think it was.
Skyfall, yeah. I think they highlighted it when I love that they introduced the whole dynamic to where they could hit on each other, and there was no problems there. As James Bond said, "Well, you think this is my first time?"
Yeah.
I think that's a hilarious idea, and that's something you can really expand upon. Really fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you know how I feel stuff like that. I'm all about normalizing everyone's preferred sexuality. I think that would be really great to see them like that. I don't know what it is about those two guys, but they always had even the little jokes in Shaun of the Dead where she calls him his boyfriend and he hands him the beer and he's like, thanks, babe.
Yeah.
Just little stuff like that. I could totally see it being an excellent, funny premise for a movie.
I also think it's funny too that they could it could be really awkward, where they're fighting and then something that reminds them of their past.
Right,
and they
yeah.
take a moment to it could be really good.
I dig it.
All right, Nolan, thank you so much for coming up and joining us tonight.
Thanks for having me on. I'll always come on to talk Edgar Wright.
Yes, sir.
Well, we're going to have to wait for another movie to come out before that happens, I think. But was it Baby Driver? I'm looking forward to it. I can't wait to see more things on it. I think the guy from Punisher.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go.
We got Ansel Elgort, too, and he's so hot right now.
Yeah. I don't know. Trending.
It's a metaphor. All right, Nolan.
Is that who that is?
Yes.
Oh, my God. All right. See you later, Nolan. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Later. So I know that Brian is technically supposed to come in next, but he has not arrived yet. So
Yeah, I'm
should we
supposed to just call him.
Oh, okay.
But let me see if he's definitely available because I told him a little bit later. You know what? No, somebody wants to jump in before Brian. I told him 10 o'clock. So.
Yeah, so I think that would put Billy in next because Candace is also not here yet.
Okay. Yeah, Billy, you ready? You ready? Oh, Jason, welcome. Jason Cheese here.
Hey, Jason, let us know if you want to come in. We'd love to have you on the show. And did Melissa say whether or not she wanted to come on cam?
I don't know, she said. Melissa, you're more than welcome to call in and talk Edgar Wright if you would like. There is no wrong or right answer. So, I'll
Okay,
stop.
we got to show the sign, too. I don't think we did it since the show's been on. It's right night.
Get it?
All the
That's
right
his name.
moves.
We've been doing puns all along, guys.
Did you send Billy an invite?
No.
Okay, so we're sending Billy out an invite right now, and he's going to be coming in shortly to discuss the talented Edgar Wright.
See, now for Billy, all I have to do is hit B, and I have his address
Because
right
Billy's
away.
here like every week.
Well, that's see, regular attendance makes it easier for my email to work.
But Ashley and Joe are the only people who have been to every single episode.
No, I know Ashley and Joe, and they almost didn't make it the last one, but they got it.
They're the real MVPs.
Yeah, we'll stop with the puns in a minute. I just gotta get it out of my system.
Who's the trade?
No one is.
What up?
Hey Billy, how's it going?
Pretty well. I'm pretty well.
You're really excited. What's up?
No, I love Edgar Wright. I'm so happy you're doing this. I'm glad you got Nolan on there. I was just thinking Christopher Nolan blah sounds every time everybody says Nolan. You know, the blah from Inception.
If you've seen our music in movies episode, which I think was like 5 or like
Oh yeah, you
Yeah.
use the blah as transitions. It's a great.
very blah heavy. So maybe I'll bring that back to this episode. For anyone who wasn't here last episode, Billy won our costume contest, and he dressed up as Dan Merle. Cosplay costume. It was good. So we enjoyed it. There's the glasses right there. I just saw them. But we're not here to talk about Halloween, even though I'm trying to get that episode out to you. I'm gonna stop putting out dates until we get. We have a bunch of news later too, so watch throughout. No skipping to the end.
Surprises.
Throughout. Anyway, so our good friend Janine is asking us a few good questions. Her first one is, what is your favorite movie in the Cornetto Trilogy? I know I read it in the chat, but why don't you tell everybody?
Ha ha. I'm just looking at the chat right now, Cal, talking about you. It's called facial hair, buddy. It's getting darker, by the way. It's not like Tom or Nolan's amazing beard, but you know. But my favorite movie it's for Doctor Strange. As you can tell, I'm excited for that, and I'm only going to let you guys know because you guys are cool. Not letting anybody else know. My favorite of the Cornetto Trilogy, which I have right here, is it's a very tough one because they're all really good films. And I'm going to go with Shaun of the Dead. I know it seems like an obvious answer, but, you know, for me, first is usually the best. Like with Star Wars, Indiana Jones, all those first movies are personal favorites of mine. Although the sequels, and in this case, Cornetto Trilogy sequels, are also just as good. I chose Shaun of the Dead because it's actually the first Edgar Wright film I've ever watched. And I didn't know what to think of it at first because it was just so bizarre. It was hilarious. And also, you can tell it has that British wit. It's very dry with its humor, but it's also very clever. Like, there's a lot of hilarious visual stuff, like when he's going out to get some Cornetto ice cream, and he doesn't really notice that the world is just going to shit right in front of him, and he's just getting some Cornetto ice cream, which I want. But it's just...
Also on Misfits, too. Shout out Nathan with the Cornettos.
Yes, that's why Nathan is my favorite character. Yeah, it's a great spoof of the zombie genre, while also being very original with its approach. It introduced me to a lot of British things, like what they pronounce stuff, like, you know, telly, pub, and yeah, I enjoy watching it every single time. And I notice something new every single time. And if a film can do that, then it's done its job.
Yeah, for sure. I think that Shaun of the Dead has enormous replay value. Like, anytime you could just throw that movie on and enjoy it, you know? Awesome. So, our buddy Nolan, who you guys just saw, at NolanDean27 on Twitter, asked us, what genre would you like to see Edgar Wright tackle next?
Okay, well, he just said horror, but I would want him to do sci-fi. I mean, I know The World's End is technically sci-fi, but I mean, like, just do a space movie. Sort of like, imagine an Edgar Wright sort of Guardians movie. I mean, I know that's James Gunn, but imagine if it's like a hard R science fiction movie. And I know Edgar Wright can think of something because, as we can see, he is great at making original ideas. That's just for me personally. I feel like he can take on anything, and he'll find a way to just make it awesome. I mean, even if it's like a serious film, I'm sure that he would do a really good job with it. And yeah, just a hard R science film.
Awesome. Yeah, I dig that. I was actually a big fan of the particular style of science fiction that he went with World's End. Like anything that's like an invasion of the body snatchers type, like you don't know who's one of them situation is right up my alley. Like with that type of stuff, I love it. So I thought his choice was great for that, but I could totally see him doing more science fiction.
I was just saying earlier, Billy, it's so refreshing, like, because we're looking at like set photos and stuff like that, to see like directors having fun with the cast and stuff like that. Because you always hear about like the asshole directors, and I mean, while some of those directors are effective, yeah,
Cameron.
Yeah. I think that yeah, that's what I was about to say. When you were talking about a sci-fi, I was picturing Edgar Wright's version of Aliens. But it's so nice to see them having fun, and I made the allusion to James Gunn because he's another one who he just has a blast at what he does.
Yeah, for sure.
He's from
All right.
Louis. Sorry.
What?
I said James Gunn. He's from St. Louis, and definitely check out his stuff for Trauma. It's some of the weirdest but most awesome stuff that you will ever see. I guarantee it.
Cool.
Yeah, and he seems like a real cool guy. I follow him on like Instagram and stuff, and he's always posting cool stuff. And he really like gets excited about his fans and stuff. So shout out to James Gunn for also being cool.
Nolan Dean says him doing a space opera, like a sci-fi would be cool.
I could totally see that.
But we know that space is going to come up later in some form or another.
So now to one of my favorite questions that we received. I thought this was really cool. Thank you, Janine. What do you think is the best fight sequence in an Edgar Wright film?
This is also very hard because they all have very good fight sequences, but I'm actually going to go with really any of the shootout scenes in Hot Fuzz. It's very hard to do any action scene and make it effective. I know this because I've actually tried to do that. And I've made terrible films, none of which you will see because I have them locked away somewhere. But there were some action in it, and they did involve shoot-'em-up scenes. And I gotta give credit where credit is due. It's not just the director, although he's a big part of it. The cinematography has to be very good, and practical effects are always great. Blood squibs especially. I'm a big fan of blood squibs. But yeah, the Hot Fuzz action scene are not only, there's always some humor in it, but they're also really solid action scenes. I mean, it's that or any of the Scott Pilgrim fights because those are like video game bosses. It's just...
I do have to say that my favorite fight in Hot Fuzz is actually the grocery store fight with the Yarp guy and stuff. The Yarp guy, by the way, I don't know if any of you guys have noticed this, but that is the dude who plays the Hound on Game of Thrones. Just deal with that for a second.
Yarp.
The dude, Yarp. Yes, that's so crazy to me. Like, he does such a good job. Like, he is two completely different people in that movie and that show, and that's excellent acting. But I just love, like, the puns, like, chill or cool it or whatever he says when he's, or you should have said this. Like, it's so funny.
Narp?
Narp. Playtime's over.
Yeah.
All right, so our last question here, inspired by the Popcorn Talk guys and our buddy Morgan, is some people think that Edgar Wright is an overrated director. Do you think that he is overrated, underrated, or just right?
Ha! As a fan of puns, you know that I love that question more than any of the others. But I think he's actually underrated. Most people I talk to they don't seem to know who he actually is. They seem to know what movies he does, because a lot of people surprisingly know about Scott Pilgrim, which I love because I've been a fan of the comics. I got all 6 volumes right here. I'm trying to find it on Blu-ray, but I do have it on DVD. And I also saw it in theater. But really, he's not like a mainstream guy. He just sort of goes off and does his own thing. While, I mean, he's brilliant, but he's just sort of flown under the radar, and he gets this huge cult following, you know.
Yeah.
But he's a director with talent. He's also got some gorgeous hair, and anybody who dates Anna Kendrick is a boss. I'm just saying that right now. And yeah, I think oh yeah, and he has a copy of Ant-Man's first appearance, like framed. So the dude's just a pretty awesome guy that really needs to be recognized more, not just for his work, but just for being an awesome guy, because he seems just really down to earth. And yeah,
I do want to say about Scott Pilgrim, the reason that I do have a big place in my heart for that movie is that it is dated in the most wonderful way, because we're 30, and when that movie came out, that is exactly the way that like hipsters that I know acted. Like, that is painfully my generation and the people that were in my subculture at that time. Like, if we did like have kids or grandkids one day and they wanted to know like, oh, what was it like to be in your 20s at this time, like I would put that movie in, because he ridiculously just nailed exactly what it was like to be that age in that time. Like, he knocked it out of the park with that.
The game culture, the music culture, the
Just
fashion,
everything.
everything.
The
Censorship with
apathy of being anywhere, just the whole thing. Like, yes.
the hardships of being an adult in Canada.
Yeah. Or anywhere boring. Like, it's great.
For real.
But
Well,
yeah, that's it.
that's all of them, Billy. Thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, no problem. You know, I always love coming on here, answering any of the questions. Of course, most of the time it's not any of mine, but I appreciate it nonetheless.
All right, buddy. We'll keep sending them, and I'll definitely try to get more of yours in
We'll
there.
definitely get one of yours in for the next one for sure. I'm sure you can come up with something.
All right, I'll be working on it.
All right, we'll
Talk
see
to you soon.
See ya.
All right. Well, our buddy Brian, one of the hosts of DVD Bunker, another great show on the Tough channel, will be joining us in a second. I just got to send him an invite. Let me just let him know on Twitter that I messaged him.
Yeah, and thank you guys once again for sending us some awesome questions, and thanks for demanding that we do an Edgar Wright episode, because if there's anyone who I'd like to do an episode on, it's probably Edgar Wright. So we are sending out that invite now, and hopefully Brian will be joining us shortly. Again, if anybody else is interested in being put on the list to let us know.
Send her email and to be on the list.
Oh, awesome. So write her down. Oh, there's Brian.
Brian,
Did I do it?
Hey,
I did it. I did the thing. Can you hear me? Is my microphone good?
yeah,
Yeah.
I can hear you. I can see you. It's like
That might not last. If anybody watched the last fan friction, I don't know. It's a little spotty on your guys' face.
Okay. We'll see if they can just hold on for a few minutes, right?
I think as long as you have like a thing going, it's easier. But when it tries to track like quick responses, you get like jumbled up.
I could see
But-
that. And I talk really fast. I try to do like a Coy Jandro thing and really like get a lot of thoughts out there. It's not.
Nice.
It didn't work. It doesn't work out all the time.
Well, we would like to hear your thoughts, so let's get right into this first question. The lovely and talented Janine at Janine Devine sent us a question, and it says, what is your favorite movie in the Cornetto Trilogy?
I had to think about this one because I was like, favorite movie or best movie? Are they the same thing? So I had to take that moment. But I think, without question, I can say I think Hot Fuzz is my favorite movie of the Cornetto Trilogy.
Nice. Hot Fuzz is getting some love tonight. I appreciate that.
Well, yeah, and I mean, I don't think anybody can deny. I think that's where I was having the problem is like, because Shaun of the Dead might be a slightly better movie overall, like executes its premise and this, that, and the other, but like I just love Hot Fuzz so much, and it's so fun, and I just think it's a great movie, and it's kind of both a thriller and an action movie, so it's a little bit of a genre bender too, just similar to what Shaun of the Dead was, and also with a little bit of comedy in it all too. So yeah.
Yeah, and I know you're a fan of action movies too, so I could see that.
Absolutely.
Like leaning on pushing you over to that side,
Especially because it talks about American action so much. It's almost like it's a miniaturized version of DVD Bunker within the movie, where
and
you've never seen Bad Boys.
Absolutely, and I'll say it right now.
Nick Frost, you're Nick Frost, and then Matt is Simon Pegg in that situation.
I would be absolutely fine with that. I have no problem with that.
Do you have any of the Cornetto films in the bunker?
Of course, all of them. Absolutely. Yeah, that's a great one. I like that. I like the idea of being the but what was I gonna? There was something else I was gonna say about Hot Fuzz and I forgot. Oh well, it's fine. I'm sure it'll come up later if it was important.
If it comes back up, I'll just edit it in so it's seamless.
Yeah.
Oh, really, absolutely.
In Hot Fuzz, Timothy Dalton was really funny as Skinner.
Yeah, Timothy Dalton's great, and I remember what it was. It's that the movies they talk about in Hot Fuzz, Point Break, and Bad Boys 2, I'm actually not a Bad Boys person. Like, they're fine. I remember watching the second one and being like, man, this is really long. And like, yeah, there's that cool action sequences, but man, why are they just on and on forever and ever? It's like that last boat chase in Face Off. I'm like, no, Face Off should have ended with the Face Off, with all the guns pointed in the church. What's the boat chase about? So I feel that's like the whole movie of Bad Boys 2 to me. So,
yeah.
But definitely Point Break is an all-time classic, so no arguments there.
Have you ever shot a gun into the air and went, ah?
That's the only way I shoot guns. I don't ever aim at anything.
Nice.
All right. Well, Nolan at Nolan Dean 27 asked us, what genre would you like Edgar Wright to tackle next?
I guess I'd like to see him do something a little more fantasy based, because he seems like he's done a little action, he's done a little horror, he's done a little sci-fi, but everything's also kind of based very much in reality. So I'd like to see him take himself out of that comfort zone altogether and do something really wild. Maybe something where they go something off-world. Maybe a sci-fi thing where they're just in a totally different environment. So there's nothing grounded in it. It's just like a totally different. Not that I have anything against that vibe at all. And I mean, I guess Scott Pilgrim's a little out of his wheelhouse, but still very much, a lot of dark streets and alleys, and just the look of it still feels similar to his other movies. I would like to see him go completely off book from that.
Yeah, that'd be really interesting.
Yeah, especially because his signature is very, like, no matter what he does, you're going to be able to tell that it's him.
Yeah, like I could just picture somebody putting on like a gauntlet and like a sword, like what I mean, like doing the quick like transition shots just with like different equipment, I guess.
Been really great at adding fantasy elements into the real world. So like I said, just unchain him completely and go full on fantasy in whatever direction he wants, whether it's science fiction but nothing that anchors it in the real world at all. Like just unhinge all of that.
Yeah, I agree.
Right? Go nuts.
Edgar Wright, unhinged.
He's probably gonna release a book someday with that title, and I won't get any credit.
Yeah, I would read it.
You know, I was just thinking. Okay, sorry. We almost could have gotten that with Ant-Man. I think he would have taken that in a totally more submerged in that kind of universe direction with it. But we'll never know.
Yeah, if he could have got it out like before Avengers, you know, if it could have come out in that span between the first Iron Man and the first Avengers movie, he could have done it his own way. But by the time Avengers came out, the die was cast and they knew exactly what they were doing. And it's like, well, I mean, I'm sure his movie would have been good, but it also might have seemed really like out of place in the Marvel universe, and you'd have kind of been like, "Oh, that one movie really stands out and doesn't fit." And not that it's not good, but it always is going to seem separate. And so, you know, like I said, and take the shackles off him too. Take the intellectual property shackles off of him. Don't have him do Ant-Man. Have him do something completely new and different. And then, you know,
I'm gonna say like
I would have. For the
saw
record, though, I too would have liked to see Ant-Man. That would have been cool.
I saw your list for the what order you like the Marvel movies in, so you're definitely going to disagree with my placement. But I think Guardians of the Galaxy is the Marvel movie that's a little different and completely stands out from the rest. But that's also my favorite one. I think it's really refreshing.
No.
Because they can get kind of stale, and I think if they would have let Wright do what he wanted to do with Ant-Man and let him be unhinged, then it could have been one of the really different ones and stand out in a positive way, you know?
No, I agree, and I actually think really highly of all the Marvel movies. So when you look at my rankings, you could squish them all into like a top 4. You know what I mean? And they would all fit. I really like the Marvel. Even their misses aren't that terrible. So it's like Guardians is a little lower on my list than some people, but I still really like that movie. I still think that's a really awesome, and I love that that's one of the things they've done the best is just dipping their toe in all different genres. And, you know, I think unfortunately without Edgar Wright's extra touches, Ant-Man missed out on being that a little bit. Like, it could have been a really quirky comedy, and it was kind of a heisty comedy, and everybody likes it, and it's fine, and I think it's a good movie. There's nothing wrong with it. Like I said, I like all the Marvel movies, but you're right that if he'd have been that he'd have been involved, it definitely would have had more of those like individual touches that could have set it way apart from the Marvel. So I guess the same thing I criticized also could have been what could have been great about it.
Yeah,
That's why it'll be a horrible question that will haunt us forever.
Yeah, I think that the parts that stand out in Ant-Man are the parts that definitely have that Edgar Wright touch to them, like the train sequence and some of the jokes that feel very from him. So I think that the reason that people like that movie is because he worked on it, and Paul Rudd.
And I would say that Paul Rudd is like underused. I was just having this conversation with somebody earlier today. It's like he wasn't given enough comedy. Like, you have Paul Rudd in your movie. He was actually funnier in Civil War than he ever got to be in Ant-Man. And Michael Pena was great, but like, why did you give him all the good comedy stuff and really like Paul Rudd and make him, you know, he was very much like the Paul Rudd from Friends. You know, he wasn't really, I would have liked to see like Anchorman Paul Rudd. Just let him.
I almost guarantee it's because Edgar Wright would have written visual comedy for Ant-Man, and because they didn't have it, they didn't have the, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I could see that.
They still did have some of his dialogue, though, like that Baskin Robbins always finds out. Like, there's no way that didn't come from him. That feels like, you know, that feels like very from him.
It might have been a nod to Cornetto, like ice cream. Like,
yeah.
That's the thing I do, ice cream.
I'm always going to work in ice cream.
We should see if there's an ice cream reference in Scott Pilgrim.
We should. Nice.
All right. So Janine asked us another question, and she asked, do you like action? What is the best fight in an Edgar Wright film?
There's actually, it's funny because there is a lot of good action and there's a lot of good fight choreography, like in The World's End too. But I have to go with the supermarket scene in Hot Fuzz. I mean, the whole last like half an hour of Hot Fuzz is an action scene, but I think specifically the whole bit in the supermarket is like my favorite. You get some crazy action, you get weird stuff getting thrown around, you get a little hand-to-hand combat in there. So I think it's you know, not only one of the best, but it has like the most to offer too.
Okay, we just got confirmation from Nolan in the chat that there is ice cream jokes in Scott Pilgrim. It's the gelato joke with the vegan guy.
It's milk and eggs, bitch.
So there you go. Ice cream across the board.
Oh man, we just broke it. We broke the case. Okay,
But
so
yeah, we were actually talking about that fight scene. That's also my favorite fight scene from Hot Fuzz. So good, so funny, every second of it great.
Yeah, a lot of good action and a lot of good jokes like in the action, and that's when it's done best, you know.
Yes.
and even like the butchers just throwing knives because that's naturally what you would have back there. Like there's all the elements.
Well, yeah, they're playing into like bad guy cliches and like people with gimmicks and stuff like that, and that's I love all that.
All right, so as you're familiar, you fought against two guys at the last fan friction of the season finale, Adam and Ben from
Andrew.
I'm sorry, Andrew and Ben from, what's the name of their show?
Action Movie Anatomy. It's on the Popcorn Talk Network on YouTube.
Right. So if you had watched their most recent show, which I'm sure you have, they kind of did an homage to fan friction. And we like the way they judged a certain person's abilities, so we kind of are doing an homage to them. So this question is, do you think that as a director, Edgar Wright is overrated, underrated, or just right?
I'm going to compliment your pun work there. I like your wordplay. I like the way you guys do business.
You're welcome.
This is probably where I'm going to get a little controversial here, I think. Oh, if you've seen my show, you know I'm all about these. Oh, I scared Tom just up and left. That's terrible. That's a terrible reaction. I really love.
So what are you gonna say? Go for it. We can take it.
I really love the Cornetto Trilogy. I think those are really great movies. I think they're lacking a little in range.
Wait.
A little bit.
Ryan, you froze for a minute.
I'm sorry. Am I back?
Yeah, you're good.
No, I think those are great movies. I think there's a real similarity to them. I think because he hasn't put out a lot of big mainstream content, we're basically looking at 4 movies, and really like Scott Pilgrim. I only saw it for the first time a couple months ago, and I think there's a difference between seeing it when you're a certain age and when you're an adult. There's certain characters in that movie that are just downright insufferable to me, and I love the look of the movie. It's shot beautifully, everything, the special effects, the way they're used, the way everything's done is so cool, and I get all that, but unfortunately I was just like, this subject, it's just rough for me, you know? So I think I'm going to have to say that he's a little overrated because the movies he's made are so beloved that it makes it so it's hard to look at his complete body of work and kind of take everything into account. I really enjoy very, very much, though.
I think that's totally fair, and we always don't be afraid to say your opinion, any of you guys, because we like to get different opinions. The world is boring if we all agree on everything all the time. So definitely be honest. No one's gonna judge you if you think he's overrated. Then you think he's overrated.
I just put out a whole episode of my show in support of the RoboCop remake. So I clearly cannot. I don't care what people think. I don't have any. Nobody takes me that seriously. So.
Nice. Yeah. So I think that's all the questions for tonight, man. Thanks for stopping by. Did you want to plug your show real quick for everyone?
Oh, yeah. I mean, like I said, I just did an episode. If you want to talk about contrarian opinions, go check out our latest episode. We talked about the RoboCop remake. Coming out this week on the Will Ferrell, Zach Galifianakis movie, The Campaign.
Nice.
So that's DVD Bunker right here on Tough Channel. And you can always find me on Twitter at Hershcules, hashtag DVD Bunker.
Very cool, man. Thank you so much for stopping by.
No, thanks for having me on, as always.
Of course, anytime.
We'll talk to you soon, Brian.
Bye.
Eject.
They said to call Ashley when you call them.
Okay, she's
So-
up next.
She'll be coming in whenever she shows up.
Okay.
So I would say put Ashley and Joe in because they're
Okay.
here, and then we'll call Candace when she comes.
And then we have Janine and Melissa after that.
Yes. Did you
Okay.
send an invite?
I'm just talking right now.
We are inviting Ashley and Joe now. Candace is going to be coming in too, and I got to sneak her in when she comes in because she has to be up early. But Candace and I actually went to an advanced screening of Hot Fuzz together in matching Shaun of the Dead shirts when that movie came out like a decade ago. Sure, we'll reminisce about that.
Hello, hello.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Oh, it's going.
Welcome to Right Night. The sign-
It's totally supposed to say that all the time.
Yes. Totally not a Halloween decoration that we use as a house decoration at all times.
Halloween decorations and house decorations are synonyms. Hello.
Also, I'm just going to throw this out there. That's just industrious, like Jack Skellington did when he repurposed all of Halloween Town to be like another Christmas town.
Yeah, well, that's why I don't even like bother with the cobwebs. You know what I mean? Because any other time of year they would accept it. So
Yeah. Why clean the front of your house when Halloween's coming up and you're trying to look like the Radley place?
Yeah.
Who needs decorations?
I don't. I would rather not look like the Radley place. But so
Fun and
so let's hop right into it. Our good friend Janine asked us, "What is your favorite movie in the Cornetto Trilogy?"
I think we may have the same answer. I could be wrong, but I'm going to say Hot Fuzz.
Yeah, I also agree, and I, definitely like what Brian had to say. It's like, favorite versus what's the best, and
I think they're the same.
yeah, for me, it's definitely the same. Yeah, I love Hot Fuzz. The movie is just magnificent.
It's so well paced and shot, and the action scenes are really good. And it not only does a really good job replicating, but it lampoons the whole like action movie genre all at the same time, like incredibly well.
Yeah, love letter plus lampoon, and I love how I love how Wright uses the same actors over and over again in his works, especially in the Cornetto Trilogy and in Shaun of the Dead. You have Simon Pegg and Nick Frost as these like two losers, and then we get to see kind of a transformation of where Nick Frost is still kind of definitely a man-child, but Simon Pegg as Sergeant Angel is just total super cop, and his whole life is so rigid and together where he has to kind of go through the journey of the movie of learning to let go a little bit. And I love how it's, you're using these same actors, but they don't always have to play the exact same character tropes every film. And I like that growth. And even in his show Spaced, Peg's character Tim was, kind of like a little bit of Sean, but like a little bit more put together, except for when his girlfriend broke up with him. But
His life is still together.
his life was a little more together than Daisy's was.
Yeah,
I love that the character growth.
For those of you who don't know, Brian was just talking about how like Edgar Wright really only has 4 films. He does have a series called Space, which Ashley brings up all the time because she is a fan.
Yes, and he has other shows too, but that's definitely of all of the shows that's more popular and that you can actually currently watch on Hulu. But he has one called, I think, The Asylum, where it's like it has Simon Pegg and Jessica Hines, and I have never seen it. I just read the description, and he's directed episodes of other shows as well. But yeah, a lot of his early filmography is television. So.
Sure.
Same with
All
Justin.
right.
Yeah.
So our second question comes from Nolan, and he asks us, "What genre would you like to see Wright tackle?"
So I'm kind of like co-opting a couple, and he's done comics already, but the comics he's done have been like Scott Pilgrim, as well as part of Ant-Man, so to speak. Which it's a shame because I think I loved Ant-Man already, and I think I would have loved his Ant-Man even more. But I would love to see him tackle Rat Queens, which is a fantastic, which goes with what Brian was saying, like doing a really good fantasy story. But Rat Queens is like your generic adventure fantasy. All 4 main characters are female. They fit the typical adventuring party tropes where you have like the fighter, the wizard, the cleric, and the rogue. But they're all little tidbits differently. Like the cleric is an atheist, for example, but she grew up learning this like clerical magic, so she's like, I mean, I'm going to use it. So it's just really hilarious. Like it turns a lot of tropes for adventure and fantasy on its ear, and it's just a really great series.
You mean
and I would love to see him tackle it.
You don't want him to do a live-action Guyver movie?
While I would love a potential live-action Guyver movie, again, I mean, granted, we've had 1.5 good Guyver movies, and the worst of the 2 live-action Guyver movies had Mark Hamill, and you figure that would elevate the movie to a better point, but it's totally not. I don't know. I love Edgar Wright, but I don't know if it's quite his style.
With the Mark Hamill thing, that's such a tease because like the front of the cover totally suggests that he is the Guyver, and he is not at all.
It does. It is. That is not the case.
Stealing his star power.
But what I will say is, like, I keep bringing up how, like, his quick transitions going, like, to, you know what I mean, the quick, like, sequences. Having the Guyver transformation in that style would be super interesting. Just steam.
Mm-hmm.
Like.
Yep. My favorite of the live-action movies where you ever see him transform, and it's the second one, which is the Sci-Fi Channel original, which has the worst budget, is where he jumps off a freaking cliff and transforms midair and then does the superhero landing and just breaks into a sprint. And I'm just like, okay, yeah, that was awesome.
Nice.
They did what they could.
Did Ashley do her?
I have not. Yeah, so I'm going to take us back to earlier in the year when we were on, Tom and I were on a show together called Fan Friction, and we had to pitch a bringing Johnny Depp back to greatness, and I tried to pitch the Edgar Wright directing an adventure film, but I would love to see that, but I don't want Johnny Depp to really be in it because he would probably mess it up. But definitely that pulp adventure, Indiana Jones, Romancing the Stone style. I think that could be really fun. And with his editing style and just the vast history of those kind of movies to pull references from, because he's such a referential director, I think that would be really fun.
Yeah, I dig that idea.
I would definitely want Simon Pegg and Nick Frost in it because I just love that collaborative team.
Yes, for sure. It's not the same without those 2 guys. Although
Definitely.
Scott Pilgrim, I am a fan of Scott Pilgrim.
Oh yeah, Scott Pilgrim is fun, but there's just something about like the magic of like working with people that you've worked with before and like, you know, knowing how everybody is going to like gel together and like what they're capable of and how to push them. I think it would be fun. Simon Pegg, some kind of, you know, adventurer, and his idiot companion, Nick Frost. I would definitely more, you know, even though I was praising it earlier for not typecasting them, I would totally re-typecast them, you know, as their kind of hot fuzz roles, the together one and the idiot one that is obsessed.
Or like Nick Frost is like his TA because he's a college professor or something.
If we're gonna just pull the whole plot from my pitch that I totally don't have a short story written for.
Go on.
That's where I got the idea from. I was like, I need something. Okay, I have this in my files. I'll just rework this. It's not very good.
I'm sure it's fine. Janine also asked us, what is the best fight sequence from a Edgar Wright film?
Brian stole my answer, so I'm going to go with a non-actual film and go with Spaced. The television series, granted, where it's the beginning of season 2 when Daisy comes back from her trip to Asia, and there's like these basically government agents that show up. They look very much like Agent Smith type people. One of them is Mark Gatiss, and she proceeds to beat the crap out of them when they all show up in the bar looking for them.
Yeah, it's very referential to The Matrix because that was very much in the popular culture.
The geek culture,
Yeah,
especially.
because Space premiered in '99 and ran from '99 to I think 2000 or 2001. So yeah, that kind of turning point in cinema.
But if I was stuck choosing from a film, it would literally be the same one Brian said, where it's the fight scene in the supermarket, because I love the little things like there's a GIF of it that I use for everything, and it's the one when Nick Frost is loading the shotgun, it's just like shame, and then when the guys behind the meat counter start throwing the knives, and one of them when the Andys think one of them is hit. And he starts freaking out and shooting and like unloading, and the other one who looked like he's like, Andy, it's okay, it's just bolognese. Because they hit a jar shattering with bolognese sauce.
What I really love about that fight is how much like a video game it really feels, because like you have like the guys behind the counter throwing the knives, and like the whole thing feels like a video game level where it's like, okay, I'm gonna go after the big boss now, and like you guys stay here, like in a raiding party kind of like.
Well,
wow.
and they at one point link all the carts together and battering ram the freaking meat counter with all the freaking shopping carts. So it's just this beautiful, like, amazing fight scene that is cut so masterfully. It's just so much fun.
Yeah, I think the one thing that's great about Edgar Wright is that you can tell that he loves making movies, but more than that, you can tell that he loves watching movies and that he really appreciates, like, paying homage to movies that inspired him to make movies. And I think that that's just, like, we all love movies, and to see somebody who obviously like feels the same way making movies that is amazing is really inspiring, I think.
Yeah, I don't think you could ever say that Edgar Wright is a lazy filmmaker. Like, he cares about every shot, every edit, music choices, everything with a purpose, nothing on like, well, we couldn't afford to do this, so let's just do whatever.
And he still has the eye of someone who just watches movies. Like, that's the thing. Like, I feel like a lot of people that get into making movies, at some point, they divorce themselves from a movie fan and just completely throw themselves into being a movie maker, and they lose that connection between, like, how they would see a film from the point of view of just someone watching a movie.
For sure. Did you have a favorite fight scene, Ashley?
Yes, mine's a little bit earlier in Hot Fuzz when Simon Pegg comes back to the town and he like raids the weapons locker, all the confiscated weaponry, and like rides in the town on the horse and is gonna basically, you know, like show them like how it's gonna be, and just love how he embraces all of the action movie tropes that he was criticizing earlier in the film, you know, like doing the whole like dive with the two like, you know, pistols, you know, out to the side, and all of the little one-liners like it's straight out of every 80s and 90s action film, and like all the callbacks to earlier moments from the film. I just think that's just a glorious scene, and there's so many great fight scenes in that movie, but just him riding into town on the horse with the gun strapped to his back.
The woman,
you know,
on
it
her
means
bike,
business.
The woman on her bike with the two pistols is just, it's
yeah,
just
like that.
glorious.
Yeah, for a little small hamlet in England, they are packing some serious heat. You wouldn't expect that.
Can't we stop this mindless violence?
Yes, yes.
His response, though, which I'm not going to say, but his response is just like, "Oh, F off, grasshopper," just pop. Yeah.
It kind of reminds me in Dead Alive with the priest.
Mm.
For sure.
All right. Well, our last question. Do you think Edgar Wright is underrated, overrated, or just right?
I think he's underrated, but I think that's a good thing. Because I'm going to use two other examples of directors that are like huge geek directors, and then there are directors, and there's your geeky directors that pay homage to the geeky tropes and the jokes and the things that we get as like nerdy geeky people. Being like what exploding and becoming a huge deal did to them, like Sam Raimi for starters. Like, he became huge, and then he started getting super burnt out, and Spider-Man 3 shows it. I mean, he's the musical number. But and he stopped really doing stuff for a little while. And Joss Whedon was the same way. He blew up overnight practically. And then because he was so overwhelmed from people online and studios and scheduling and everything else, Age of Ultron suffered because of it. I'm going to say part of it was the script too, but you can tell some of it is like because a bad script can be saved by a good director. I'm kind of glad Edgar Wright's not that big. Like, he didn't catch on and become like this huge sensation. He's a big sensation with people that know who he is, but he's not like this mainstream Hollywood sensation. And I'm kind of glad, because I don't want it to ruin Edgar Wright. Going back to the previous comment where he still has an eye of someone who enjoys watching movies, if he gets burnt out, he may not have that eye anymore, and that would like fundamentally scar what he can do as a director.
Right on.
Yeah, I think Joe
Right
said,
on.
Yeah, I think Joe said it very eloquently. I also agree that he's underrated, but my perspective matches more what Billy said earlier, just because not a lot of mainstream movie fans have heard of him. Like, they may have heard of Shaun of the Dead or Hot Fuzz or Scott Pilgrim, but main people that are, just casual movie fans, or even if they go to movies regularly, they're, not a lot of people pay attention to directors' names, cinematographers. I mean, they're, like, we're kind of like that kind of depth of knowledge. But average, I could go to my work right now and ask, hey, are you excited about Baby Driver? And they were like, what are you talking about? Like, what kind of movies are you watching? Like, Edgar who? Like, what is wrong with you? Like, who? What? I don't understand. So I think definitely underrated, just because, like Joe said, his star hasn't risen to that level yet where he's a household name. Even, with his work on Ant-Man and then leaving that, I don't think that elevated him. But again, what Joe said makes a lot of sense. It's actually a good thing, because when you do rise too high, like, what does that do to your like creative soul, and what does that do to the process? That you could lose something. So I don't want that to happen to Edgar Wright. Please don't get too popular if you're watching, because he's totally gonna watch.
I was gonna say that, like, yeah, it's the double-edged sword. Like, Ant-Man is the perfect double-edged sword for him, because it's like he could have made this fantastic Marvel movie, but he backed out on it, and his career might be better for backing out on it, because instead it would have become like an adrenaline burst of movies and success and stuff, and then maybe it could have done some permanent damage to him. I don't know, but
well, because I think he backed out because like the creative vision wasn't matching up. Like, there was too many constraints because of having to fit Ant-Man in with the greater
Marvel,
cinematic universe, and like he's like, no, I'm playing by my Edgar Wright rules, and I'm gonna walk away from this because it's the right thing to do.
Yep.
Very cool.
That was awesome, right?
Yeah.
Well, it was a pleasure as always. Thank you so much. I know you guys are. I just. Morrow's in there. Yeah, we're gonna get Candace in right now. But we'll see you next episode, and I'm going to announce at the end of that episode what it is. But you guys already know, because you guys are cool. But,
And also, check out Joe and Ashley's show. It's called BFF on the Tough channel. They check out movies that we thought about on Fan Friction, and it's awesome. It's our newest show, but it's definitely a super fun one. So everybody go check out BFF.
Yeah, new episode on Sunday for Pay It Forward. Yeah, that was a movie.
Cool.
That was a movie, guys. All right, we'll let Candace hop on, because her time's limited. So we'll see y'all later.
Bye,
have a great night, guys.
You
Later.
too.
If you go to any episode about Jake Panel, you'll find Ashley and Joe.
Yeah, they've been to every single one. Those guys are awesome.
You're just looking up here.
We're going to be sending Candace an invite here. And you maybe want to just run them down for who's still on the list. After Candace, we're going to be having Janine, if she wants to come in, and Melissa and Raul. Waiting, guys. We really appreciate it. I'm excited to meet Melissa, a new face.
Yes. Dead air. Sorry, guys. Candace, I know I do this to you every time, and I'm gonna write it down. Look, I'm gonna look. You can watch me write it down, but I'm just gonna need your info. And I think Melissa sent me hers.
Janine did as well.
Janine did. I know she did. Melissa, I'm looking in my direct messages, and it doesn't look like you sent me your email, or it didn't come through at least. So if you want to give that another shot. Oh wait, was it Facebook that you sent it to me? Guys, it's only an hour and a half in. I'm trying to get her.
And I with 2 R's.
That's why. Because I keep putting the wrong last thing. I keep putting Gmail.
While we wait for Candace, I'm going to eat these delicious sixlets, Candace's favorite.
All right, Candace. So I sent you an invite. It should be out. And let me double check. Make sure I have Melissa's. Yep, there we are. Cool. Yes, I have it, Melissa. We're good. And so we're just waiting for Candace to get her invite, and we'll get going. It is Gmail. Okay.
You sixlets.
So I'll be sending another invite to the correct email address. I just must have spelled something funky. You know what? I just figured out why some people show up and why other people don't.
What's that?
I have to go on Google Plus and add them to my circle, and then they'll be able to pull them right up. So I might just enter all you guys into that later. Save some time. I didn't realize that was holding us up.
And we're excited that you checked this out, Melissa. Thank you so much for joining the show.
Well, and I think we have to thank Nolan Dean for that, because I'm pretty sure they're friends, and that's how she saw it. So thank you, Nolan Dean, for getting us new visitors. There we go. All right. Now it's heading your way. Sorry about that, guys. Oh, nice, Mormo. That's cool. I didn't know they did that.
I guess if he follows the channel when we start a new show, it would alert him.
Oh, that makes sense, because I got an alert real life, too.
Mhm.
I thought that was just because I was the...
Here she comes.
And Jason. Hi, Jason.
Hey.
Hi guys.
Nice shirt.
Eating your gross ass candy?
It's delicious. So yum.
It's the most waxy chocolate. Like,
My mom tried to sell us on it last weekend. She was like, sixlets? And I'm like, no, I don't want that. And like some people at the party took some, and apparently Leanne's boyfriend likes them, so he was like, sixlets. And my mom was like, I love this boy. He can come over whenever he wants.
yeah,
Ridiculous.
I love your mom. She's the best.
Gross.
I was telling them earlier that you and I actually went to go see Hot Buzz in advanced screening together,
Yes,
wearing
we did.
that very shirt, matching Shaun of the Dead shirts,
Correct.
when I had a humongous mohawk.
Yes, you did.
Walk up that day to the movie theater, my 10-inch tall mohawk. People behind me I do not think were fans so much.
Whatever.
And I also couldn't sit in the chair properly because my hair was like smashing into the back, so I'm like this the whole movie. It was
Yes,
awesome.
but it was so thrilling. You were on the edge of your seat anyway.
I was. All right. Well, I know you're a big Edgar Wright fan, so I'm excited to hear what you got to say about this.
Yeah, it's a little ridiculous.
So the lovely and beautiful and talented Janine asked us, what is your favorite movie in the Cornetto Trilogy?
This puppy.
Yes.
100%. And I like hate to be that person that's like, the first one is the best one, because like, you know, it's like a real hipster thing to say. But the first one's the best one, man.
Yeah.
Like, it's just so perfect. Like, Hot Fuzz is great. Like, don't get me wrong, Hot Fuzz is excellent. And it's funny because I could probably watch Hot Fuzz more frequently, and have watched Hot Fuzz more frequently than I watch Shaun of the Dead. But there's just, I don't know, like, there's just something so brilliant and so on point about, like, literally every scene in that movie. Like, I feel like there's no scene that I could do without in that film. Like, each one is a step toward plot development. Each scene is foreshadowing. Like, it's just, I don't know, especially, like, when you watch it over again and you watch it with the Zombo-meter where it gives you all, like, the trivia and stuff. I mean, like, from the music choices to the fact that, like, he works at 4E Electric to, or electronics, like, I'm Coming to Get You, Barbara, like, all the layers that he has in that movie of, like, all the films that came before it, it's just masterful. Like, I saw Shaun of the Dead, and then I watched Spaced, and when I watched Spaced, I was like, oh, so this is how that gets born. Like, this is where that comes from. Because, like, in that, every episode is, like, nuanced and very much, like, deeply ingratiated into something bigger than itself. And, like, that, to me, that's really, like, what Shaun of the Dead is an exercise in. And then, like, he, like, really skillfully combines the romantic comedy aspect of it as well. Like, you have these, like, character types, like, these archetypes that are overlapping within a zombie movie and, like, a comedy film. But, like, you add a slice of life because, like, they're imperfect people. And you get this, like, totally genius take on, like, what the world would actually be like. I mean, like, you have shows like The Walking Dead that focus on the survivors, but, like, a lot of these shows and movies, like, expect you to believe that these people live inside of a vacuum where, like, there are no zombie movies and no one knows what's going on. Like, no one calls zombies in The Walking Dead. It's almost like they're completely outside of that pop culture, whereas this, like, takes a direct hit. Like, they're like, let's talk about it. Let's discuss, because this is what would really happen if the zombie apocalypse were a thing, you know? I don't know, I love it. It's my favorite.
One thing that's great about that movie is that there's really complex, like, dynamics going on between all the characters. Like,
Absolutely.
on the one hand, you have, like, the relationship that's going on with Liz, and that's obviously got problems. And then you have the roommate that's in love with her, and then you have the issues with his mom and him not wanting to introduce her to Liz, and then you have the stepdad that he doesn't like. It's all, like, very complex situations. Even, like, you get Ed's having feelings for the mother and, like, giving Sean crap about the mom and stuff. Like, everyone has, it's not like a cookie cutter thing going on. There's definitely, like, stories going on within the story.
And I like
Absolutely.
the fact that he can tell you everything that's going to happen in the movie right off the bat. You know what I mean? Like, when he's like, well, what's your plan? He's like, well, this is exactly what we're going to do. And that's exactly what they do and what happens. Yeah. And his foreshadowing is amazing. When one of the first descriptions of Nick Frost in that movie, he's called Dead Weight. Like,
yeah. And I know Candace is a fan of the dude who works in the store with him.
Noodle. I've only got Henry myself, and, like, upon like my second or third viewing, I realized that, like, that's who he's on the phone with when they're outside the Winchester. Like, it took me like 2 or 3 watches before I was like, is he trying to buy weed from Noodle right now? Are you kidding me, dude? Inappropriate. And, like, so good. And, like, I think what I really love too is like, early Martin Freeman cameo as, like, the Liz equivalent. Like, I love the like, how they work in Daisy Steiner, how they work in I always forget her name, Jessica Stevenson. They, like, work her into the storyline. So, like, there's this whole, like, unspoken other story that's going on. You know what I mean? Like, ultimately, like, not to jump the gun, because, like, this isn't really my answer, but, like, I'm just thinking of this now. It would be rad if they did, like, a Wet Hot American Summer style continuation of Shaun of the Dead, where they show, like, Janine's story. Not Janine. What's her name? Is it Janine?
Which one?
Jessica Stevenson's character.
Oh.
I think it might be.
I think her name is Janine. So, like, when they show her whole, because she even has, like, a little pompadour, like Sean has a little, like, swirl on his head. Like, I feel like, yeah, the doppelgangers, exactly. Like, I feel like I would love to watch that movie, because, like, the girl who plays who plays Diane,
Yes.
is in Black Books, and she's like hilarious. Like she's super offensive all the time, which I love. I feel like that would be or a graphic novel would be cool. Like I feel like that would be a really interesting story to explore because I feel like obviously their story is incredibly different than what we know happens to Sean. For her to like have made it through, I mean, even the way that they like. Even the way she like saves the end, like she just swoops in out of nowhere, and she's like this like rock star, like fucking Tomb Raidress, like I'm here, zombies beware. Like she's just so like I don't know, out of nowhere, and you're like, what have you been doing this whole time?
They just like walk by each other in the line. They're like, hey, hey.
And even down to the cameo of the Reverse Ed is that guy from Pompidou, Matt Lucas. Is that his name?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Possibly.
Really good.
But yeah, hilarious, dude. What about you, Jason?
Samesies. Like, same. Shaun of the Dead. Everything she said. Ditto. 2 times. No, yeah, like, Shaun of the Dead. There's like a little bit more of like a personal, like, it's kind of,
It's our movie.
Yeah. Kind of thing. Well, because in our first conversation, like in the first 5 minutes of,
it's what made me talk to him.
I don't. All right, so I don't mean to brag or anything, but in the first 5 minutes of talking to this girl, I dropped a slice of fried gold like reference.
Yeah, because that's your handle on Instagram too.
He likened my singing to a slice of fried gold. He was like, how is that for a slice of fried gold? Because I did a Nina Simone cover. And I was like, who is this boy?
He's not wrong.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And just singing, he is not wrong. It says in the chat here that the IMDb says Yvonne. I think we just have
Yvonne.
Yeah.
It is Yvonne.
Yes.
She is our next guest.
Nice. So our next question, Nolan Dean at Nolan Dean 27 said, "Zombies, cops, apocalypse, rom-com, heist. What genre would you like to see Wright tackle next?"
You can go first.
All right, so I kind of have 2. A kind of like period, like I don't want to say when we were talking about this, I said kind of like a period piece, kind of like epic Lord of the Rings. But maybe not so much like an epic, not like spanning 3 movies or anything, but just kind of like a period piece in that time. And it'd be really great for, just in true Wright fashion that he brings in kind of all the same, all of his same players to play. And I would have to say, I would really like, all right, now I understand, how am I going to say this? I would love to see Edgar Wright do kind of Goonies too. And the reason why I say that, and this is very much an arguable statement. Like I completely understand you either love or hate this, but when Abrams took the reins of Star Wars, you can really say like he really kind of he was so near and dear and loved like the property so much that he was able to like properly expand on the story. And I kind of feel like Edgar Wright is definitely that guy. Like if you were to ever have anybody else to do a Goonies 2, I feel like Edgar Wright would really do a killer job on something like that. Like maybe get the same feeling, but inflect a bit of different humor, or maybe even go as far as to like let it be a what was that one movie? What's the one kid baseball movie that Walter Matthau was the coach of?
Sandlot?
No, Sandlot.
Dennis the Menace.
Oh, yes.
Bad News Bears.
There it is. Yeah, so Bad News Bears. Where they
it took me 3 tries.
Yeah. So maybe something like a little like Bad News Bearsy. So yeah, there's my answer to that.
Very cool. Candace?
What are you typing?
I'm typing to Kim.
Uh-oh. Secrets.
It's really not even worth it. I'm gonna send it to you guys and be like, whatever. Anyway.
See, I'm Eva writing.
So I read that joke the other day, and it made me laugh for several hours. So I took.
Oh, the Eagles?
Yeah.
Oh my God. Both my friend Malcolm and Tiffany. Hello, if you're still watching. My.
I didn't make that up. Don't give me credit for that. That's not me. It's not me.
Oh, I know.
So my pick is I don't know. So at the end of World's End, right? They give us like this Western apocalypse thing that Simon Pegg is in out of nowhere. And like I feel like I need a little bit more of that. Like I would love to watch him direct like a Mad Max because I feel like he's really excellent when it comes to like just over the top, just grandiose, well choreographed fight scenes in general. So like I feel like, you know, like panning, like wide sweeping lenses and all that stuff would probably be something that like would be a first time for him, but I imagine that like he probably thinks that way, just judging by like how coordinated all of his pieces are. Like his shots are just like so clean, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Like so if he thinks that way, if he thinks frame by frame, shot by shot, I can only imagine what he would do with like a panorama. You know what I mean? Like I can only imagine like how much would be packed into like every inch of that fucking, I mean, wow, like it would be so incredible. So for me, I think it would be like a dystopian, futuristic, like even something steampunk. Like I could even see him and Simon Pegg and like the whole gang getting back together and doing like a crazy, like around the world in 80 days steampunk something. Like I don't know, like something crazy. But I feel like, you know, he would just like, he's got a really broad imagination and he understands concepts. Like he obviously like strives to be as fluent as possible in whatever it is that he puts his hands on. Like Scott Pilgrim was like one of the best adaptations I think I've ever seen. And when you read that comic, it doesn't seem like it could ever be adapted. You're just like, there's just so many layers of this. Like it's just too deep. Like this is super, it's like meta on meta on meta. Like it's more meta than like any Community episode ever that's watching itself. Like it is just deep. You know, it's like stacked thick, and like somehow he managed to get like every note right, and he knew what to leave. He knew what to leave alone. There were pieces of the story that he was like, "I'm not going to do that justice." He pulled back, reined it in, and didn't move forward. So like his judgment is just so good that I feel like any mistakes that like a Frank Miller may have made, or like I don't know, like who else? George Miller would have made, like any of those like iconic like dystopian or futuristic, or like even like a Neil Stephenson book. Like sometimes I find myself like halfway through and I'm like, all right, I can keep going, I guess. But like I feel like it would just be, I don't know, just wild. I see Joe over here with the Fallout movie, and I think that would be fucking phenomenal. Yes.
Dog meat.
I liked with Scott Pilgrim. He had a way of like dabbling with surrealism in that movie too,
Yes.
without like taking you out of it. Like when
Yes.
it happened, like when the door appears or whatever, you're not like, oh, that's weird. You're just kind of like, oh, that's cool.
Well, by
You know?
then, like the norm has been broken. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like he does such a good job with setting his world that I think for sure, like I would definitely. That's my favorite scene is at World's End is the finale, where they're setting up what's going on currently, and Martin Freeman's walking around with the volleyball.
I
Yeah.
forgot about the volleyball in Martin Freeman's head at the end of that movie, and I freaking lost my shit when he brought up a picture and has like the eyes drawn on it, and he's like trying to sell real estate or whatever. It's too much. It's too good.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think he could set up the world so well, and it would be still original, because unfortunately we're running out of original ideas, and it's evident with everyone remaking everything. But
Yeah.
I have hope with Wright. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, nobody said.
All right, so I'm excited to hear this one from you guys. I got both of you, right? Yeah, okay. So Janine asked us, what is the best fight sequence in an Edgar Wright film?
I don't know if anyone else picked this. Did anyone say World's End?
No, please.
I did.
Oh, yeah, Tom said World's End, but please talk about World's
yeah,
End.
please. But I said the bar fight with Nick Frost headbutting Pierce Brosnan, because he just lets loose and you're waiting for him to do it the whole movie.
Okay.
What's yours?
Mine is the bathroom scene.
Yes.
Like, for me, I feel like that's one of the best fight scenes in any movie, let alone an Edgar Wright movie. Like, his fight scenes are obviously, like, really, like, cataclysmic. Like, he wants to level up as much damage in every frame and every shot that he can. Like, especially in Scott Pilgrim. Like, they just fucking go for broke in that film, and it's awesome. Because, like, it's entertaining to watch. It never looks like... I mean, it always looks choreographed and it always looks clean. Like, it never looks like it's, like, sloppy where you can't really tell. Like, if you ever watch, like, the original Old Boy versus the new Old Boy with, like, Josh Brolin, like, he looks tired, like, fucking 2 shots in, man. Like, he's, like, got the hammer, you know? Like, but like, Old Boy, like, he sees them coming and he's able to interact with them as soon as they hit him. And I feel like that's very much how the bathroom scene is in World's End, except my favorite part is how precisely choreographed each character is. Like, each individual character has his own style of fighting, and it's like playing like Tekken or something, but like watching it, I don't know, like my number one favorite person in any fight scene ever is Nick Frost in that bathroom, because that guy, like, he mows through those kids. Like, he mows them down. Like, he comes in swinging. Like, you see it start, and like, you see Simon Pegg, and you're like, something bad's gonna happen, and something bad starts happening, and then like, everybody gets involved, and he fights like fucking Donkey Kong, man. He's like, grab, smash, grab, punch, smash, kick, smash, break. I'm like, oh, it's so good. Like, every punch and like every hit is just like perfectly landed. I don't know. It made me so excited. Like, that is definitely my favorite part of that whole movie. Like, that whole movie took a couple of times to grow on me to a place where, like, it got close to my heart. But, like, man, like, every single character fights the way that you would expect him to fight. Yes, Peter just hides in the bathroom stall. Because Peter's like, fuck this shit, I'm out. Turtle, like, he's not trying to deal with it. Because that's who he is.
I was saying before with World's End, like, it felt like they took what he, like, everything, like all the choreography they learned from Scott Pilgrim and just multiplied it by 50 and applied it to everyone in the room.
Yeah, they turned it up to 11.
They destroy that bathroom.
God.
Oh, dude. And I love that their plan is like, no, we're just gonna keep drinking. We're gonna.
It's fine.
Then they're gonna know that we know.
Yep.
So we just gotta keep doing it.
Yep. Just keep it going.
Which
Wait
is great
for everything to blow over.
Which is great exposition.
Exactly.
Forced down your throat. You know what I mean? Like, it's just be like, this is why we're doing it, because.
And I feel like that's a very British mentality too. Just like keep going. Don't want to cause any problems.
Yep. Just keep calm and carry on.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And Jason.
What was the question again?
Favorite fight scene.
What's the
Favorite
best
fight scene?
Edgar Wright fight scene?
Sorry. I'm sorry. This is probably going to be the one everybody says, but it's the whole, the whole in-fight sequence from Hot Fuzz. Like, I super love. Okay, so everybody's already said. Like, I'm only going to just kind of reiterate like how masterful this guy is when it comes to shooting action. But it's also the shit that you don't like. He doesn't shoot. Like, I love it. Like, when he immediately goes to the hoodies, and you don't like you don't really fucking excuse me. You don't really focus on the hoodies or anything, but you know kind of what, like, it's that, I don't know, that whole in-fight sequence from start to finish. Like, I can't even like hone in on a small part of it, because like that, like, she's right. Like,
it's consistent and nonstop. Like, he just, like, he goes for broke, that guy.
Like from the second he gets the farmer.
Yeah.
And he calls his mom.
The farmer's mom.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, while Shaun of the Dead might be through and through our favorite movie, like that, just for that end fight sequence, like, I get so excited to watch that movie. Like,
I love when, like, the neighborhood planning association, like the people who are there to judge, like, the best village, they come by and it's all in shambles. They're like,
also with the ending of that movie, like the part where he gets in the fight with the guy and then the guy gets impaled.
yes.
Like the whole thing, and then he's like quiet for a few minutes, and then all of a sudden he's like, whoa, like it's in pain. It's so hysterical, like I can't. And we were talking about how that movie might be even like gorier than Shaun of the Dead was.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no way. Yeah.
That guy, when the writer gets his head taken off, that shit is like, and it's funny because every time I see that scene in my head, I hear Ed go, "Did you see his head go?"
Yeah, it's so rough. I don't mean to, like, this is not your question, but it goes to what I was saying about Edgar Wright is really good with what you don't see on the screen as well. In Shaun of the Dead, I'm so sorry, it's not a fight scene at all. It's just my favorite. I know we're going to jump off in a second. It's my favorite scene of all his movies. It's when he goes into the shop, like, doesn't know the zombie apocalypse is happening, and he's walking back to
he slips
drink,
on the blood,
and he slips on the blood, and you're like. And, like, he just catches his balance and, you know, whatever. But, like, you don't see the blood he slips on. But you're just like...
You know what it is. Like, you know that's what he's doing right now.
That tiny moment gets me every single time. Like, I see him just go, like, hut. And I'm like, that's... You're not even looking down? What are you slipping on?
That could be literally anything.
Yeah.
Right. Nice. All right. We got one more question. Some people think that Edgar Wright is an overrated director. Do you think he's overrated, underrated, or just right?
First of all, I love your wordplay. It's adorable. Second of all, I think that he's underrated. I feel like if Edgar Wright had some beans in a pot, right? And like each director in Hollywood had beans in a pot, I feel like you could scoop out like half of Quentin Tarantino's beans and put them in Edgar Wright's pot. That's just my personal opinion. I feel like Quentin Tarantino has way too many beans in his pot. Like, way too many. Like, 9 times the number of beans he should have. And Edgar Wright has, like, a third of the beans he should have. Perhaps a half, but probably more like a third. Had he done Ant-Man all the way through, it might be a half a pot of beans, but he needs a whole pot. That's just my 2 cents. Sorry for the pot analogy with beans, but
No, it's fine.
They specifically asked for no pot in these episodes.
No bean references.
Oh, right.
We were talking about like what dialogue sifted through, like what did Edgar Wright write in Ant-Man, and we are certain that the Baskin Robbins is his because he has an reference in every movie.
Yes.
Yeah. You know, it's really fun. I have a little too much fun watching that movie. Like, it's probably Candace's least favorite Marvel movie.
No, Thor 1 is my least favorite.
Well, it's not one of her
No
favorites.
offense to anyone.
But, like, I enjoy watching Ant-Man. I think, it's like, sometimes I'll be home and I'm working, and it's just really awesome in the background. But I really like trying to pick out what of Edgar's still made it in. Because I know, like, he did shoot some things, correct? And he did write a considerable amount of the movie and still had. So it's really fun, Little, like, you're like, oh,
that's him all day, I can tell. Like,
The train scene?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's so funny because I watched that movie and there were a couple of laughs throughout, but for me it was kind of just whatever. Plus I hate Kate. I think Raoul's on. I fucking hate Kate, dude. Everything Kate is in. She's in Hobbit as Toriel. I'm like, get out of here, Kate! You ruined everything.
Yeah,
she is the worst, and I hate her. So whenever I see Evangeline Lilly, I'm always like, I just can't. I can't deal with it. So she's like all through that shit, and then there's like this hero that I don't care about that's some bald guy that's like not Vin Diesel or Billy Zane, and I'm like, why are you here if you're not Vin Diesel or Billy Zane? Like, it just seems kind of like, what's the point of you? I mean,
Vin Diesel is
so then there's like a bunch of stuff happening, and Michael Douglas is there, and I'm like, this is good. And then that other guy is there that's funny, that's Hispanic, but he's a criminal, so like, who cares? And for some reason, T.I. is there, and I'm just like, seriously, guys, this is the best you can do. You couldn't have gotten like J.B. Smoove or somebody, like, whatever. Fine.
I would love if you just had a channel of like 3-minute explanations of what movies were, because it would be amazing.
You know
like,
what?
This is what I'm seeing. And then we got to the train scene, and I was like, now we're cooking with gas.
You know what we gotta approach Netflix with this?
I liked Ant-Man, actually. I thought Ant-Man was like Marvel's Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
Yeah,
with Paul
right on.
Rudd.
I'm right there with you.
And like,
But still,
like,
yeah.
I tried. I love Paul Rudd too. I've loved Paul Rudd since like 1994, Clueless. Like, I love that.
And he also hasn't aged since then.
I know, never. He drinks the blood of babies or something.
Yeah.
I wasn't a huge fan of the villain. I never really liked the Wasp Yellow Jacket to begin with. I love the Wasp. But I think what made up for it was the Falcon fight scene.
Oh my god.
I think that was.
Oh, absolutely, man.
While the other one was visually and pretty, you know what I mean? It didn't make much sense except for the train scene. That was awesome. But I think that I totally was not spoiled. You know what I mean? It was a surprise to me, and I loved it.
Yeah,
it was amazing.
Awesome. Jason, did you say your answer for this question?
I think he's just right. I don't think he's underrated because I kind of feel like everybody who goes into an Edgar Wright film, you more or less know what you're going to get into. I don't think he's overrated because, like, there's, like, all right, if he was overrated to me, like, there's, like, this really shitty, like, hacky, like, Hollywood director who did, like, a good movie one time. The guy who did, you know what I'm talking about. What's his name? Max Plains. I'm not a big fan of him.
He only wrote.
Right. He's overrated.
But he seems to be working on that for himself, though.
And I kind of feel
he seems to be dialing it back a little bit.
I feel like if you're an overrated Edgar Wright, you get to Max Landis. And that nobody wants that.
That's true.
He's just right. He's perfect. It's true.
I agree.
Thank you.
I just have one more question for you before you guys leave. I have a visual aid. have you seen this girl?
Her hair is like this. So one of my favorite parts of that entire movie is when he like goes up to Como and like if you look in the comic, like it's frame by frame exactly what you see in the movie, which I fucking love, down to the drawing, which like blew my mind when I saw it in the movie theater. Like I was so resistant to that movie because I fell in love with the books and I had gone to Comic-Con and like I met Brian Lee O'Malley and he signed book 5 for me and like I had this whole experience with the world of Scott Pilgrim. And like when I went to go see it, like the opening scene happens, and like Steven Stills is like, yeah, all cute in the microphone, and like I felt like I was Knives Chow or something. Like my eyes went shh, and I was like, I love it. It's 3 seconds in, and I'm like super like about it. I was so angry. Like I was filled with the keenest rage, which is stupid because obviously I love Edgar Wright and I should have been happy to like it, but for some reason I was like, I don't want to like this. I don't want to be that person. And like by the time we got to that scene, he like comes rushing up. He's like, Como, and Como's like, because he like comes on him so like serious. It's what's especially funny is that whenever I see it, it reminds me of like Kimber's intensity. Because like whenever Kimber's like really serious about something, she's like, when you're like, whoa, so intense. That's what it reminds me.
Yeah, Candace is the reason I knew about Scott Pilgrim before the movie came out. And what was I just going to say? Damn it, I had one. Oh, I was going to say that Beck did the songs for Scott Pilgrim for like Sex Bomb and stuff. And
Yes.
like, what an awesome, excellent choice. Like, he did such a good job. That soundtrack is great. We have it on vinyl right here.
So do we.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I loved,
Black Lip is also on there.
yeah, I loved the Brie Larson cover of Black Sheep by Metric. I thought that was like a really good choice of song to pick too.
Absolutely.
So good, like the soundtrack and him and his music all day, man, all day.
Even the attention to detail, like Brian Lee O'Malley is like super Canadian, and when you read Scott Pilgrim, it's like Canadian from like start to finish. It's just like Canada reference, Canada reference, Canada reference, and it's hilarious. So the fact that they picked a Canadian band to be Clash of Demon Head, I was like, this is fucking great. Like, I love Metric, but I can't sit here and tell you that if it were my movie, it would have been like Metric. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know that I would have like gotten there. But like I follow Brian Lee O'Malley on Instagram, and I followed Edgar Wright while he was he had a blog. I think he still has the same blog, but like he did like every day he did like a shot of Scott Pilgrim like leading up to the release of the movie, and like I followed it.
I remember.
Back then it was super easy because everyone was on LiveJournal. But like I remember like both of those like simultaneously like kind of moving toward this like conclusion because the book 6 came out like a month before the movie was released, or like 2 months before the movie was released, and they had different endings. And I waited to read book 6 until I had seen the movie, like just in case. So like I remember just like being really like awed and just being really like wowed by like just the sheer attention to detail. I mean, down to like the like the hidden 7 evil X's, like the foreshadowing or whatever, with like the street signs, or with him like in the house that he grew up in, and like I don't know, man, like. That movie is like a wholly different experience for me than like Spaced or Shaun of the Dead, and like even though it's equally personal, it feels like it just feels different. Like Shaun of the Dead is this movie like I saw when I was in college in like a tiny theater for free, like you know what I mean? Like obviously I have memories with Hot Fuzz for Kimber, and like you know what I mean? Like so I have like little pieces of myself scattered throughout like his whole catalog. But like Scott Pilgrim was like the first movie that I felt was like for me. You know, like I felt like that was totally for me. Like the whole movie felt so personal. And like, I don't know, I feel like not enough people have been exposed to like the level of magic that he can introduce into his work.
Kimber was saying earlier how it's almost like a perfect time capsule for like our generation and how we were.
Absolutely.
And it's only reinforced more so by you explaining that you didn't want to like something because of your love for something, which I think defines our generation. But I also really like too, I remember when it was coming out, I believe Scott Pilgrim wasn't in color until either the release or after release of the movie.
Yep.
So that was another thing going for it. It's like, oh, now we get to see it not only like in real life, but in color too.
Yeah.
Yeah, another thing I was going to say is that if Candace was in charge of the soundtrack, the Clash of Demon Head would probably be Slater Kinney.
Yeah, totally. Extra badass, like extra hardcore. I mean, Metric did a good job, but like, come on.
I also really, and this is I can't keep going on about Scott Pilgrim all night, But I love what the writer did for Scott Pilgrim, where Scott isn't 8. You know what I mean? He's 0. Like, he's a new chance. He's a new chapter.
Yeah.
And I just think it's brilliant writing, especially when you're foreshadowing all of the X's coming up eventually and then being like, oh, it's a new start. Because it's always a counter to 0. It's never to 10. So it's really interesting.
Absolutely.
No, right on, man. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, that is all of our questions, too.
Awesome.
I don't know if you saw our sign, by the way. I have to show you. Do you see it?
Oh, so good.
So good, man. That is
Excellent editing skills, you guys. Excellent.
You can't even tell, right?
No. It's like you
You
bought
know,
it
we
that
have
way.
read 10.
It's better this way. It's better this way.
All right, guys. Thank you so much. I think, can I make the announcement while I have?
Yes, please do that.
So everyone's enjoying Right Night tonight. I just want to let you guys know what our next episode is going to be. It's a very special episode. We're going to be having 2 of the members, and I would say their names out loud, but I would screw it up. So they're not hard names. I just forgot the last name. But they're husband and wife team who worked on X-Men the animated series. They're going to be coming on the show, and we're going to be asking them some questions and stuff like that.
Awesome. That's
Awesome!
That's really good.
November 21st.
Awesome.
So start humming the theme song now.
Already 3 paces ahead.
Do. All right, guys. Thank you so much. We'll see you soon.
All
Bye.
right, catch you
Good
guys
night.
later.
Mavis, what?
I
I think we have Janine coming in
Janine, yep,
next.
I'm going to be going there. And thank you for being so patient. Those who haven't gotten to call in yet, usually we try to do either first come, first serve, or if we know that you're limited on time, we try to squeeze you in. So if you ever want to come in, but you're like, I only got a few minutes, just let us know, and we'll try to get you in there.
Mavis, come on now.
Becoming a demon at this very moment. Did she steal a pen?
Shit. She just went wild on a pen.
I don't even know how she did that.
Nuggethead, stop. Stop it. Good.
You're being a pineapple. All right, Janine, the invite is sent, so you should be getting that soon.
So yeah, after Janine, we're gonna have, I believe it's Melissa and then Raul. And then we will probably call it a night.
Oh, nice, Mormo.
Yeah, shout out to Mormo. He's here in the chat. He's a frequent caller, especially from back in the Blab days, but he did show up for our Halloween episode. But he doesn't know all that much about Edgar Wright, so he's just being a spectator tonight. But he's saying he sells Shaun of the Dead toys at his work. Back in the Blab days, but he did show up for our Halloween episode. But he doesn't know all that much about Edgar Wright.
Let's turn off the other video, otherwise we'll loop forever.
Oh, okay.
Your Scott Pilgrim costume's better than mine.
And I have my little friend Scott, Party Scott, with his little
That's who I am.
yeah. And he's got the drawing.
Nice.
It's me. Now she has a voodoo doll of me. I better be careful.
And I've got my Scott,
Nice.
or my Shaun of the Dead.
Very cool.
Like our costume.
Right.
So how's it going? Thanks for calling in. I know you're
Of
passionate.
course. I had to.
Well, I hope you have some questions, because half of these questions are yours. The first one being, what is the favorite of yours in the Cornetto trilogy?
Well, I'll have to agree with you guys and say Shaun of the Dead. Like, you guys pretty much said everything I was thinking, but the visual cues in that are so freaking smart. Like, you see the whole apocalypse happening, but he's like totally oblivious to it. And then when he starts to kind of notice something distracts him. I just think that is so smart. Like, you even in the intro, you see people who you're going to see later as zombies. Like, that is so smart.
Yeah, you gotta love that scene too, where like they think that she's drunk, the lady in their backyard, and like grabbing the camera to take a picture and everything. Like, so
yeah.
Because that's what it would be like nowadays. You know that someone would be just like Instagramming it right quick.
Yeah, or they're just on their phone and they're not even paying attention to what's going on around them. Yeah.
For sure.
All right. Well, our buddy Nolan asked us, what genre would you like to see Wright tackle next?
Well, I kind of wanted to pick something that I didn't think everyone else would pick. So I was thinking like a Western.
Nice.
So maybe like in the style where like they use modern speak and like reference modern things, but it's not a big deal and nobody really notices. And he could totally play off all those Western tropes, like, you know, duels and like the guy running down the street on fire and like, you know, the whorehouses and the saloons and all that stuff.
Well, we know that Simon Pegg looks good on a horse, so.
Yeah, I think he could pull it off. I think it'd be really funny.
I would like to see Nick Frost as the bad guy in the Western.
Yes!
They could go full circle back to Nolan's story, but yeah, there you go.
Yes, he could be the corrupt sheriff. I could see that.
And you could almost like, I guess like, almost play off how he was a cop in Hot Fuzz too. You know?
Yeah.
Have Nick Frost be the competent sheriff in this one, but he's a bad
In this
guy.
one? Yeah.
All right. Well, your other question, Janine, was what is the best fight sequence in a Edgar Wright film?
Well, I think I saw Randall say it in the chat, but I'd have to go with the Lucas Lee fight in Scott Pilgrim.
Yeah?
Yeah. The Casaloma fight.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that? The cat's very distracting right now.
The Lucas Lee fight in Scott Pilgrim at Casalova. Yeah.
Yes, I like that he outsmarted him. Like, they made it so that one of the tasks wouldn't just be brute force.
Yes. And Chris Evans is totally hamming it up.
Oh, yeah.
And I loved the part where, like, there's this whole thing where when they film movies that are supposed to be based in New York and Canada, they always, like, erase the CN Tower and put in the Empire State Building. But in this fight, there's a backdrop of New York, and he kicks Scott through the backdrop, and it knocks out the Empire State Building, and you can see the CN Tower in the background.
That's pretty cool.
Like, I love that he just thinks about little things like that.
I was going to say, why don't you tell her about your favorite fight in Scott Pilgrim?
Oh, my favorite? Well,
no one talked about it.
yeah, we have to, like, acknowledge the Matt Patel fight because...
Yes. I thought that I almost picked that one.
It introduces us to the whole thing. He may not have been a contender, but like it was like right away we're like, okay, well, the only person who thinks this is weird is Scott's sister.
Yeah.
Encourage behavior. People don't die; they just become coins.
Yeah.
Yeah, demon hipster trick. Like it's like okay, so now anything's possible. You know what I mean? Like it was just a great way to open things up.
And like nobody's used to seeing Michael Cera like that, so it was just cool to see him like fighting and kicking ass, and like you do not see him like that at all.
Yeah, again,
so that was really cool.
His sister's reaction when he wins is just like, oh, okay.
Okay. Yeah, no, that was a good one too.
All right. So, as a director, do you think Edgar Wright is underrated, overrated, or just right?
Well, I'd say just right. Like, he is underrated, but I think that makes him just right. Because, like what Joe was saying, I feel like if he got too big, he would probably fall prey to, like, studio interference, and he might not get to do the projects that he'd want to do in the way that he wants to do them. So I feel like the level where he's at right now, he's able to create awesome things that we all love, and he still has his creative freedom to do what he wants.
For sure. Yeah, I guess not being under like a magnifying glass kind of gives you more of a freedom to do stuff, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Well, that's all four. Did you have anything else?
No, it's just always nice to see you, Janine. I love when you get on cam.
Of course. I had to tonight. I love Edgar Wright, so. This was the right night for me to come on.
Yes.
Thank you.
I don't know that. All right, well, thank you so much, Janine. We'll talk to you soon.
All right.
All
So
right.
now
So
we have
Melissa,
a first-time caller.
first-time caller, first-time watcher.
Yeah. We love new faces.
I'll just pull this up here. Got some notifications. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
Not in trouble.
Joe sent us that 4 Eels comic. I saw that.
Oh man, not again. I'm sorry, Miss Jackson. Woo! I am for eels.
Mavis, why are you so destructive?
I don't know.
Mavis versus the living room.
All right, Melissa, the invitation has been sent. By the way, if anybody wants to keep up with us on Twitter, you can find us at Odd-Shaped Panel. I'm usually on there all the time. If you just want to talk to her, it's
I'm at SJ Plus Junkie with an IE at the end.
for real.
True story.
That's it. And if you're ever wondering what we're up to, you can always also check the hashtag Tough OSP. That's tough spelled TUFF. So you get in touch with us. Sorry, I'm trying to read the chat.
We're writing comics over in the chat.
That's cool. Oh no. I don't know how that's gonna end.
So did you want to tell them? Did you want them to start sending us questions for? You didn't
Yeah.
really say the
Yeah.
theme.
Well, we're gonna be celebrating the animated series, of course. We can't really talk about anything else. I'm still working out how it's gonna happen. Usually it takes about a half hour to answer questions if there's 2 people, which is you should see your invite in your Gmail or in your Google Hangouts. Would somebody in the chat? We don't accept our own invites, obviously, so we've never actually had to do it. So if somebody wants,
Yeah,
to
make sure to
chat,
check your junk mail too, because sometimes it'll send it there. But Gmail, Google Plus, Hangouts, it'll pop up somewhere around there. But yeah, so for the X-Men animated series episode, definitely send us some questions. We're gonna have the 4 regular questions, and if they're up for it, we're gonna see maybe if we can throw them some questions when they're on that you guys send in the chat.
Yeah, so not necessarily because of course we take your recommendations for the main questions that everybody gets to answer, but if you want to chip in questions specifically for them, yeah, feel free to. Maybe just figure out a way to separate the 2, though. We'll figure it out. Maybe we'll use a different hashtag. Use that hashtag. Great, Mormo. We'll do use the hashtag ask or OSP X-Men, and then we'll check that and see if
Yeah, and they're real cool people. If you guys don't follow them on Twitter, you definitely should. They've retweeted us many times and tagged us in posts and all kinds of stuff. Very, very cool people over at X-Men, the animated series.
I'm going to go ahead and send another invite to Melissa just in case that one didn't go through. I don't want to looking for nothing. Hey, calm down. Come here. If you're going to be energetic, why don't you entertain the people? Do something.
Useless.
So, unfortunately, we have not gotten to see Doctor Strange yet. We're gonna probably try to see it. I'm guessing next week, probably, right?
Yeah.
So, we'll be talking about that later, but we're dodging spoilers for right now. One got me.
I can't wait. You guys know I'm a Cumber bitch all day. And you know that Doctor Strange's look is based on Vincent Price, my other favorite actor. Mormo also has a kitty named Mavis. Kitty twins.
Man, it's not showing up, huh?
Well, I hope that we can get her in because she has been here pretty
Yeah,
much
she's
the whole
waiting
time.
the whole
Yeah.
episode. No, don't be sorry. All right, guys. So, if you're in your Gmail and you're looking for it, where would you find it? Is it in a certain section? Let's try to help her out because we don't want to scare off an info.
And we don't want to burn a fellow Edgar Wright enthusiast.
Exactly.
Yes, Cumberbitches unite.
I just left my family
Like
open.
your circle in Gmail.
Okay, so open up your Gmail, Melissa. I'm going to give you a few minutes, and then I'll send you another one. Double check that it's the same. Make sure you're logged into the same email you gave me, because sometimes that's a problem. Sometimes people have multiple emails.
And also, Raul, if you're still here,
Oh,
just let us know in the chat.
Because
I just want to make sure he's still around.
now.
She's going to get 50 invitations.
I'm going to cut it at 3, I feel like. All right. The one just got sent. You should be getting a notification in your left corner or something like that. He's just washing dishes right now. So.
Okay, good. We haven't seen Raul in a minute, so that's going to be nice to have him on the show.
It's a good closer.
Yeah, everyone loves Raul. That's Billy's sweet boy, is what I heard.
Let's see, what else we got? We're planning, so we have the X-Men episode. After that,
the anime episode?
We're doing an anime episode with one of my good friends, local. He's going to be sitting in because...
anime is one of my pop culture weak spots. I will probably be calling in as a caller, but Malcolm is going to take my seat and co-host with Tom for that one, so we'll actually have a guest host.
And then the one after that, which I believe would be the 19th.
Yes.
That's going to be our holiday episode or our holiday party. And then we're probably going to be taking about a month or two off live episodes just to catch up on the past episodes we got. And then
we'll be back. We might do like during the live episode, we might do some like get-togethers where we just talk and stuff, but we aren't going to record those just because we're really far behind on editing episodes and we need to catch up.
Or if we record them, they'll be just that. They won't be for editing.
Yeah, and we intend to do a... Oh, nice!
So
Ashley,
we'll do a birthday
perfect.
party for Ashley, too.
We intend to do like a best of 2016, like end of the year reel at some point, too. Hopefully get that out at the top of the year from all the footage that we have from all the shows.
So let's see. Yeah, I feel really bad. Do you want to call Raul and see if...
Ask Melissa what she wants to do.
Melissa, do you want to take a minute to see if those, like...
Or do you want us to try to send another one?
Not here. It's the same email? There should be no reason it's not there. It's not in your junk mail? I just feel bad. You've been waiting all day. Okay, so if you find it, just let us know, and then we'll definitely get you in here. I just feel bad. Okay. I will be I'll be messaging Raul then, if Raul's ready, and then we'll get this boat running. That's a term I've never used before. Boat running. Doesn't sound real. All right. Boom. All right, Raul. Invite sent. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba. Hello, Raul.
Hi,
Long time no see, buddy. How you doing?
fine, and you guys?
Doing great. Oh, great shirt.
Oh yeah,
Trilogy.
Nice.
yeah. I got this one like 4 or 5 months ago. I really like the design.
Yeah, it's cool. I like minimalistic poster designs, so it's nice to have all three of them like blended together.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we have some great questions tonight about Edgar Wright. The first one being, what is your favorite movie what is your favorite movie out of the trilogy?
Hot Fuzz.
Nice.
It has to be Hot Fuzz because first is the first one that I saw. I didn't know about Shaun of the Dead. I saw it after because I remember like a year later that I saw Hot Fuzz. I get this 2-pack. It was Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz for like 100 pesos. At that time, it was like $6 or $7. And so after I saw Hot Fuzz again, I saw Shaun of the Dead. And I like Shaun of the Dead. I like all of the people that said all of those takes when they fight with the vinyls and the final scene and everything. But I really like Hot Fuzz because of all of the action tropes that they laugh on, all of the gore. That's the thing that hooked me up so much because, like Candace said, one of my favorite scenes is when they killed the reporter on that when they kill him with that thing from the church and he's still walking. And remember me also those guys from Silent Hill with those things, those pointy things. And also when they killed that lady with the plants with her scissors. And so I really love that movie. I love also I really like Nick Frost in that movie. I like Nick Frost in a lot of movies, but in that one especially because I was like, I felt so related to him because he loves to see in a lot of movies and all of the things that he always imagines. He always imagines to be like a big hero and a lot of stuff. That's the thing that I like the most about Hot Fuzz. And also, my favorite scene is when he doesn't want to shoot his father, and he does the point break, like no. It's just like, I love that. Even though I like also like everybody said the worst scene, that fight scene in the bathroom and everything, but Hot Fuzz is my favorite because I related so many action movies when I was growing up, or seeing all the Die Hard, Predator, Aliens. And so that is why it's my favorite one.
Awesome. Very cool. Lots of love for Hot Fuzz tonight.
Yeah,
Our
and also I have the trilogy also on Blu-ray.
That's awesome. Our second question comes from Nolan Dean, and he says, zombies, cops, apocalypse, rom-com, heist. What genre would you like to see Edgar Wright tackle next?
I was thinking throughout the chat, and I was thinking about like a crazy idea, witches.
Cool.
I would love to see maybe some new British actresses that could be comedians, and they always have been best friends and also they're witches. But every generation of them have been girls, but they both have men. And so
Nice.
those men are Nick Frost and Simon Pegg, and they were raised like witches. So it will be like a cool thing, like spicing the gender between women and men, and also spicing also the gender between witches, because that's the thing that I noticed about Edgar Wright, because he learns about all of the movies that he sees, like in Shaun of the Dead. He laughs at all of the tropes about the zombie movies, and also in Hot Fuzz it's about all the action movies, and in the worst end it's like half of Twilight Zone, half a lot of aliens movies. So that's the thing I would love to see, like a lot of the witches tropes that he can laugh on. I imagine like a scene right now, like Nick Frost and Simon Pegg in like a Halloween party at 15, and they imitate the Hocus Pocus witches, say "sister," something like that. It will be so funny.
Yeah, I could see maybe the actress who plays the female cop in Hot Fuzz, who does all the like sexual innuendos. Like maybe
That could be a good one.
I don't know her name, but she's also on Broadchurch. She's a good actress. But yeah, that'd be funny. I could see it. Very cool. I think everybody had really good ideas for genres and for movies tonight. I hope Edgar Wright makes all of them. I would watch them all. All right, so Janine also asked us, what do you think is the best fight scene that Edgar Wright has done?
Oh, well, my favorite one is the one that when they fight, like kind of when like Jason said and also Joe said it. The whole fight scene at the end of Hot Fuzz is beautiful because it's also when you see Simon Pegg arriving in the horse, when they fight in the bar, then they fight in the grocery store. But my favorite scene of all of that finale is when when Simon Pegg is fighting Timothy Dalton in the mini version of the town.
Yeah.
And then he's pushing on the same thing that he killed the reporter, but in the mini version of the church, he says, "Oh, this hurts a lot." And then we see my favorite scene when Nick Frost doesn't want to shoot his father, and then he does the Point Break thing. So that is my favorite scene of all of that fighting.
Awesome. Good choice. Okay, one more question for you tonight, buddy, and that is, some people think that Edgar Wright is an overrated director. Do you think he's overrated, underrated, or just right?
I think he's just right because at first, maybe many people have said he's underrated, and I don't think so because a lot of people have really has appreciated his work because a lot of people have told me you should see Scott Pilgrim again. I was like, I'm gonna rewatch it. It's on my watch list because when I saw it, I was like, I was doing a lot of homework, a lot of stuff, and I turned on the TV. I was watching it and doing the homework at the same time. I was also bored because there was a lot of gaming stuff, and I don't get it. But I like some stuff that he's trying to kill of all of the ex-boyfriends and everything. But I need to watch it again because I don't remember a lot of stuff of Scott Pilgrim. But all of the things that the Cornetto Trilogy, there's so many details, and he cannot be underrated. And he can also be overrated because he always tries to do something different. And also, like everybody said about Ant-Man, that he couldn't agree with Marvel with his vision. Maybe that's a good thing because a lot of indie directors, they change their minds when they do blockbusters.
Yeah.
They lost their essence. Like a big example is like the director from Jurassic World. You can notice that he lost his ways. And also like a recent, I was talking with a friend in Mexico. I showed her Trick or Treat by Michael Dougherty, I think his last name. And also I showed her Krampus last Christmas and she loved it. And so I was like, and I told her, this director's gonna do Godzilla 2. What do you think about it? And I was like, I would love to see that because he likes to do practical things because we saw all of the behind the scenes of Trick or Treat and Krampus because I had the 2 Blu-rays. But she also said the same thing as me, but I'm afraid that he's gonna lose his essence because he's gonna do like a big blockbuster and they're gonna do it like a franchise and everything. So you don't know how they're gonna react. Because also like another example, James Cameron, the Terminator is like an indie movie. He was a small movie. And then he did bigger and bigger, and now he's lost his ways with the 6 Avatar movies.
Yeah, but I can at least give Cameron credit for like pushing the boundaries of like.
Yeah,
but
that's the thing. You cannot deny that he did the special effects, the 3D, all of that stuff. Like also many people criticize George Lucas for the prequels, but I was like, hey guys, we don't have the fandom of Star Wars. He's the one that wrote this universe. We should thank him because he revolutionized sound, he revolutionized special effects, He revolutionized cinema. George Lucas, and a lot of, he gets all the hate because of the prequels. So that's not fair.
Yeah, I mean, I have to give credit because George Lucas, a lot of the writing on the original trilogy was actually his wife. And then they weren't together for the prequels. So he is a world builder. I will give him that is his. But a lot of like the romance and all like that was written by his wife. And
because people are not the same without their
and edited by his wife. And Patton Oswalt has a great bit about editors. If you want to YouTube Patton Oswalt and editors, it's funny. That's all of them, right?
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Raul. We'll see you soon, I hope.
Okay. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Glad to see you.
Bye.
Bye.
All right. Well, good news. Melissa found the invite. So, Melissa, whenever you're ready, you can call in, and that'll wrap it up. I think that's everybody tonight.
And we'll be right on time again.
We already know her answers, but now we can hear it from her.
Yes.
I believe that the thing is, it's such a recycled arc. It's the hero's journey. You meet an old guy who's a wise mentor. He dies. So it's such a familiar thing that I think he could be like, well, here's the name of that character. Here's the name of that character. It's going to be like this. He's his father. Like, he could have, but the whole story in itself is not original. And we know that because he ripped off many Japanese films and a few World War II films. But he made it his own, and we can't say he didn't. So I'm not gonna naysay Star Wars.
So yeah, Melissa, if you have that invite, go ahead and accept. And here she is.
Look at that.
Hey.
Hey.
Hello.
Hi.
How you doing?
I'm good. Sorry, it wasn't working.
No, we're glad that you found it and that you're in. Awesome.
This is Mavis.
Hello, Mavis. I love kits.
Nice. All right.
So, Janine asked, what is your favorite movie in the Cornetto Trilogy?
Okay, well, my favorite movie in the Cornetto Trilogy is actually Hot Fuzz, but I want to give The World's End some love, so I want to talk about that.
Awesome, go on.
The World's End is actually my favorite to watch the director's commentary to. Which is, I don't know. When I first watched it, I don't think I understood it as much, but like after listening to the commentaries, I really liked it, and I just think it has this. Well, Shaun of the Dead has a great an emotional impact with, the killings of his very close friends and family, but The World's End has that. It's just this wonderful wrap up to the Cornetto trilogy because you've seen Nick Frost and Simon Pegg as friends, you've seen them become friends in Hot Fuzz, and then you get to see them sort of argue, but then in the end make up, and I love the part where they pull down his sleeves and you see the wristbands. I think The World's End is it's a very emotional movie, and I really love it, and I think it should get more credit than it gets.
For sure, it's definitely it's more powerful in certain ways. Like you said, I never thought about it how it was more emotional, but it is especially
a suicide attempt. And
and the whole trying to prove who's who out of them. That they're the whole scars and the it's how well they know each other, even though it's been so many years.
And it's even just again with rich characters where these people are really established characters that have way different dynamics with each other, and you have Simon Pegg who's really trying to grasp onto his former glory while the rest of his friends have totally moved on, and it's good writing.
What's smart about that? What's smart about that also is that they go to a place that they're familiar with, but they've been away from for so long, so that they know all these characters and they're able to tell you who they are, but they obviously something has changed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which is just smart.
Yeah. Also, the whole growing up thing, I think, like Shaun of the Dead is about like Shaun has to grow up, and I think Nick Frost's character has to grow up a little bit in Hot Fuzz, and I think the third movie really shows like, well, what happens if you don't grow up? Like Gary King didn't want to move on.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but he's also rewarded for it at the end.
That's totally true.
But it's the worst situation. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, you can be this, but it's the end of the world. So.
And I love how he started his trilogy with apocalypse, like an apocalyptic scene, and then he finishes it again with an apocalyptic
That's true. Yeah.
And they're different, like bookends.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Sandwich, like an apocalypse sandwich.
Nice. So the second question is from Nolan Dean, and he says, what is the genre you would like to see Wright tackle next?
So I think the genre, I was going back and forth on this because I'd really like to see him do something that's like more current, because I think he does such good commentaries on things. Like he did a commentary on the zombie thing, so I sort of think superhero movies, like I know he tried with Ant-Man, and like I would love to see that, but as they were saying earlier, maybe like a different Superman with more rights. They don't have to get caught up in the MCU, but I would also love to see like an apocalyptic Western, because I think we see some of that in The End of the World's End, and I think that'd be really cool to delve further into.
For sure.
I think how Game of Thrones kind of revitalized the fantasy setting. I mean, I know it's something we keep dipping back into because of Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit, but other than that, we really weren't getting much exposure to it. Westworld, if you haven't seen it,
I love Westworld.
It's really episode behind. We got to catch up right after this, but
I'm an episode behind too.
we'll talk about it after.
Yeah.
I hope that, because for me, I was never a huge Western fan. There was certain Western movies that I liked, and I know there's certain Western movies that you like.
I love Tombstone.
Val Kilmer's
That's my
the man.
jam. Doc Holliday.
But I hope it's just the way that they twist it, that I hope that other people kind of follow suit. And like, I love when they mash genres together. It works for all the Marvel units. Like that's the success story for MCU. They go and they take a political thriller and a comic book action movie, and they put it together and get Winter Soldier. They just do so many smart things.
Definitely.
It's word of the day, smart.
So Janine asked us also, what is the best fight sequence in an Edgar Wright film?
Okay, so it was already talked about. My favorite scene is in The World's End, the bathroom fighting scene. Especially what Janine was saying. She was saying like they're so to their own characters. And one of my favorite things, and like they mentioned this in the commentary, is I don't think Pete never lands a hit until he goes to the woods and he beats up that guy. So like
Bully, yeah.
Yeah. So the bathroom scene is so like it just perfectly portrays each of them so well, especially because I think my favorite thing about that is that Pete's hiding in the stall while everyone else is fighting.
Awesome.
And just the fluid movements, and like it's just such a cool scene to watch. Like I really enjoy it.
And again, any other movie would have made that very gratuitous. Yeah.
Gratuitous.
Thank you. But the fact that they used blue goo instead just made it like interesting and visually pleasing. Whereas like if it was just straight up gore, it would have been like, that doesn't look realistic. That doesn't. Yeah. But you're used when.
I also love the Matthew Patel fight. I like that. I also really like the Matthew Patel.
Yeah.
I love that. I love Scott Pilgrim as well. I love Edgar Wright.
The cutaways too is like, that's perfect because it informs you while it's setting up a fight scene, which you don't really usually see, where it's just doing it. You really dated this guy aside while it's a standoff.
Yeah.
Like it's.
You also get to see a little bit about Scott too. Like, didn't you see the email? I mean, I skimmed it. Like.
Yeah. Oh no, this is boring. It was so good.
Definitely.
All right, so how do you feel? Is as a director, is Edgar Wright underrated, overrated, or just right?
So When I first thought about this question, I thought I was leaning more towards underrated because I dressed up as Shaun of the Dead for Halloween, and no one knew who I was. So that was fun. And so I did go towards underrated, but I think overall, I think I'm going to have to go with Just Right because I think, although I do love every one of his movies, I do think that maybe his stuff isn't for everyone, and I think we really, like they were saying earlier, we have the Cornettos and we have Scott Pilgrim, so I think maybe, and I don't wish this on anyone, but maybe see something like not as successful first to say whether someone's overrated or underrated. I think we don't have enough yet to say.
Yeah, no, it's a good point, and I'm glad that you don't want that.
Of course not. I love Edgar Wright, and I'm so excited for Baby Driver, and my friends all think I'm a crazy person because they have no idea what that is.
Yeah, and it's really hard to find information on it. Like, I guess they've been promoting it since, like, April, but I only
Because I
recently...
haven't seen anything.
Yeah, I had to look for it, to be honest. Like, nothing
me
came
too.
up, but I hope that doesn't hurt him. You know what I mean? I hope, like, people aren't just not promoting his stuff. Unless it's, I don't know, is it going to be, like, a Sundance contender, maybe? Maybe it's under the radar for a certain reason. Maybe it's an independent.
And he also has like, a fan base that's like so loyal and so diehard that we're all excited about it. We're all going to go see it. And
I have
we're
no idea what it's about.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Edgar Wright's
Definitely. It just seems like, because like I know they did like so much advertising for like, or like I saw so many interviews and everything for like The World's End and for even Scott Pilgrim. Like I think he did a lot for that because of it was like his first Canadian thing, and this is his first one I think filmed in America. So like,
well, that could be a good thing. Like maybe that means that it's like a smaller passion project of his, and it can still really be an excellent movie. Obviously, advertising doesn't make the movie, but hopefully,
sometimes advertising ruins the movie.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
But hopefully as it gets closer to getting released and the trailers start coming out, it'll get some buzz going, because I think that Edgar Wright movie is in high demand right now.
As long as the trailer promotes it for what it is. That's been a problem lately with movies, is
yes.
They but yeah. Well, that's all the questions. I'm so happy you found the invite and were able to get in.
Yeah, I'm glad I found it. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, thanks for coming. We always love having new people on, and you're a great example of that.
Yeah. Okay, bye.
So we'll talk. Okay, bye-bye. We'll talk to you soon.
Hope to see you.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Oh, man.
This was such a good episode.
Yeah, we're running good on time. Yeah, this was great. I feel like we should just do the closer, right?
Yeah.
Earl says that World's End is the prequel to Westworld. I can kind of see that.
Westworld's End.
I need my hands for this. All right, everybody. That was another great episode. Wait, it was the right episode of Odd Shapes Panel. It was really cool getting to discuss the Cornetto Trilogy and the movie of our generation, Scott Pilgrim. Thank you so much for joining us. You can always talk to us on Twitter at OddShapedPanel or
at SJ Plus Junkie.
About anything. What do you want to see? Right now we're looking for X-Men the Animated Series related questions for our next guests. They are the husband and wife couple who are a creative team on X-Men the Animated Series. I'm going to do my research a little bit more just so I know exactly what they're responsible for and make no assumptions.
And also look out for Baby Driver, Edgar Wright's movie coming out soon. I'm personally very excited to see what he's going to do, and hopefully you guys are too.
Just to let you know what's going on as far as the other episodes going on the top. We're going to be trying to get out the Halloween episode as soon as possible. We've been having a couple issues, technically. It's doing this new thing where it takes me super longer. I don't get it. And then also, we're going to be trying to get out the Harry Potter episode for Fantastic Beasts before that comes out. I'm not going to give you dates. Just
We're doing our best.
They're coming.
Bear with us.
And other than that, we'll talk to you soon.
And thank you guys all so much.
Yes. Thank you. We'll talk to you on Twitter and stuff. Bye. I just got lazy at the end. Bye. Yeah, guys. So thank you so much for showing up. It was great talking to all of you. I'm probably going to repost this conversation on Twitter right after we're done. And hopefully we can use on that and get some promotion and stuff. Please, if you like what we do, check out @ToughChannel on Twitter. Follow them. They're our parent channel. They deserve your attention.
And also subscribe to this channel if you want to be alerted when we're having episodes. Like Mormo said, if you subscribe here, when we start a live episode, you will get a notification. So you will always have a chance to check in with us and see if you want to call in.
And please like the video also. As Brian Hurst says, don't bother thumbsing it down. There's no point. I love that. I love that it just came out. Don't even bother. But comment. I mean, it'd be great to see what kind of conversations this gets going, and maybe talk in the comments about your pitch for an Edgar Wright movie. That'd be fun. But we're gonna say goodnight. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye, guys.